Gives a go. I always gotta wait for a bit for Rumble to catch up. It legit takes the longest. Man. No, it is. It just legit takes it a few minutes to recognize the stream. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Ready?
We good to go?
Yep. Boom.
Boom. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Live Fire Dispatches. It's been like 6 weeks, I think, since we did one of these.
Something like that.
Somewhere thereabouts. Yeah. Well, if you happen to watch the Outpost episode on Wednesday or read the Substack article that accompanied it, drop a comment in the live chat. Let me know if you thought any more about the Weimar and America comparison, or if just you gave some perspective on things that we've endured as a country, some things to think about. But obviously, the point from that is the Constitution survived the economic stressors, ebb and flow. But for you to remember that citizenship isn't passive and that this country continues because we decide that it continues. But if this is your first time here, this is what you're going to get every episode. You're going to get a former military cop. That's me, former Green Beret down there, who doesn't have to do a disclaimer anymore.
Sure don't.
Breaking down this week's intel, geopolitics, rounding it off with our original segment called The Hearth, where we're going to discuss what is currently afflicting the West, cultural issues, values and principles that we're all anchored to as Americans and Westerners. But we are Watchfire podcast. I almost said I came with Fire podcast.
I saw
we
that.
are Watchfire podcast. I'm your host, Brandon. I'm a veteran. I'm a father. I'm a husband. We're here to be a bridge in the divide, your source for objective truth and educated opinion. So welcome in. I promise you're not wasting your time. Do us a favor, hit that follow button, give the video a thumbs up. And if you're feeling generous, please hit the repost button because it really helps us out over here on Rumble. And we need all the help we can get. Because speaking of Rumble, Goldswalker just brought it up in the chat, but I'm going to do it again. But as you guys know, we changed our name a few months back. I asked Rumble about changing the name here on Rumble. We've done it everywhere else. It's changed on Spotify and YouTube, all these other places. Apparently, though, they refused to help us change our name here and the URL. So our handle still says I Came with Fire podcast. If you guys having a hard time finding us, I just want to apologize. But the creator first company, that is Rumble, has an absolutely retarded policy and a bunch of dicks working for them at their customer support, whose recommendation to me yesterday was to delete this account, start a new one with a new name, lose all the followership, have to re-upload all of our episodes to this new page, which is insane to even suggest. And then, so a special fuck you to whoever's idea it was to not allow creators to change their name, and to this support person, absolutely terrible. And for Rumble to suggest that somebody burns down 3 years worth of work just because you're unwilling to help them change their name is nuts, that's a shameful policy. You won't help somebody do that. Anyway, with that out of the way, just wanted to rant about that.
Shout out to Rumble Rick, who's in the chat. And I just saw him say, I'm getting involved, and just came through with a Rumble rant and said, I am looking into this issue. Thank you.
Well, hell yeah.
Rick.
I appreciate that. Absolutely nuts. I appreciate it. Is that Rick Rosello?
I believe that it is.
Well, look at you being fucking amazing after me doing that. That's what you get. God was like, you know what? You want to talk shit? I'm gonna get hit with Rick in the chat. I appreciate that, man. You doing something about that, because we don't want people not being able to find us. And I've had people in our Discord say that. So anyway, appreciate it very much.
Rumble Rick says 4 fire emojis.
Oh yeah, man.
Thank you.
Look at that. Wow. Well, that's the best way to make somebody feel bad about the things they said, is to handle the problem. How about that? Gotta admit. Just saying. It worked, I guess, getting the court of public opinion. whoever that was, whatever, man. Hey, good for him. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah,
I will take
that's super heads up.
the humility on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are going to do a shout out to our sponsors, Killcliff Energy, one of the best clean energy drinks out there. They've been remaking themselves quite a bit this year. I really dig the new can art and some of the updates that they've been doing. My favorite flavor is still the CBD Orange Crush, but I did see that they're coming out like a lot of these other companies with like a bomb pop flavor as well. But heading over there to support them. You can support them, support us at the same time. They're veteran-owned business. Can't go wrong there. And obviously, we've got Red Pill Threads / now Watchfire. Not I Came With Fire.
Heck yeah. You should tell the story. You should tell the story about that. Yeah, yeah.
Two mornings ago, and I see my design on somebody's T-shirt, some rinky-dink little, AI T-shirt dropship company probably, and I was like, "Yo, what?" It was literally the exact design. So I wrote them. So in good faith, they did agree to take it down, and they did take it down. Though they did do a redesign. It doesn't look anything like our George Washington. So whatever. I guess imitation is the most serious form of flattery. But anyway, yeah, kind of wild to see something I made be on somebody's T-shirt. Thought they were going to get away with it. So God was looking out for me there, I guess, as well. But anyway, y'all go over there. Let us know, seriously, what you guys like, what you don't like, anything you want to see on a T-shirt. Pull the flock hunt one back up. I want to see if people in the chat, if they got an opinion on that one.
Yeah, they hold on.
And when you went to the merch, they couldn't hear me.
Don't start that now.
Well, I appreciate getting the heads up.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right. Yeah, let's hold on. Give me a second. Boom. All right. So
We're good now, apparently. We can hear me.
there.
Let's just move on then.
Now they should be able to hear you.
Okay. Well, anyway, whatever. I'm interested if you guys think the flock hunt shirt is cool. I thought it was kind of fun. There's a couple flock designs that I've got up there, but I don't like flock camera at all. I know a lot of you guys don't. I understand that there's no reasonable expectation or right to privacy in public, but that's not the point at all. I hate flock. I think they should go away. The appropriate number of flock cameras in the United States is 0, and that's the way it should be. There's a big deflock movement out here where I live as well. Fully support those guys. But as you guys saw in the thumbnail, if you read the description of the episode, we are going to get into the Andrew Wilson and Candace Owens debate a little bit tonight. Chris and I are going to do some reactions to some of these videos on here. You guys have watched us long enough that you guys know that neither Chris nor I like Candace Owens at all. Some of the more serious people I know said that the debate is just like a tit for tat back and forth with no real resolution. Didn't really expect any resolution. Then I've seen some people online saying that it was obvious that Andrew Wilson won. It was obvious that she won, which I totally expected to see. Like I said, I think Candace is a grifter. She knows she's been damaging people's reputations and things like that for money. That's my opinion. Andrew typically goes on and debates a lot of like lowbrow chicks on that whatever podcast. I see him do that a lot. So I don't really put much stock in him or the content he makes, but I just want to say this whole thing that I am going to watch these clips objectively, give you guys my opinion, whether I think she makes a point or he makes a point or whatever. But this whole thing with Candace has been going on for almost a year now, which I can't believe. It's August. Charlie died in September, which is sort of nuts. I can't believe it's been that long. So Uh, anyway, I've watched a decent amount of what Candace has to say about the Charlie Kirk thing. Frankly, anything she's said has been conjecture, in my opinion. Her source has always been the invisible parrot on her shoulder. She's been caught in lies before. She's denied saying things and then been shown that she has said them. So to me, not very serious person, but like I said before, I'm going to give these videos an objective watch and give both of them a fair shake. Real quick, the debate was moderated by Patrick Bet David. Some of the opinion I saw online is that he didn't really do a very good job mediating. Some of the clips that I saw, I kind of agree. A moderator is supposed to step in when things get off the rails or when somebody is dodging a point.
Of any kind really because I hold my possession. Never
like I said, we'll go through a few of these videos and react to them. So let us know what you guys think in the live chat, and we'll get jumped in.
Yep, let's pull them up.
Oh, snap. Rick fixed it right there, dude. Rumble.com user, Watchfire podcast. Thank you, Rick. Oh my gosh, dude. Right in the middle of the show, bro.
That's
sincerely, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's check this one out.
Fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September.
Hold on. Well, too bad Rick can't help us with the
Fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said.
Yeah, so I like this clip because it does give me an opportunity to sort of point out that Andrew is doing something similar to Candace here, because he went on to talk about, you're playing audio, Chris. He goes on to present this text message, and then he's asked about it, and he says that he's not going to reveal who it is and that he's going to do it on his show and with a slow leak of information. And we'll see if he does, right? It's not been a lot of time between when he said this today and then I'm not sure when he goes live or does what he does. So I'll be interested to see if he actually leaks these text messages and then also provides evidence that they're real text messages, because you can do that. Somebody go and verify the metadata that these are actual messages between, Charlie and whomever it is.
Right.
But the one thing with it, though, if that's real, Charlie Kirk saying that he is worried that the left is going to kill him. Obviously, he was shot and killed. The fact that he was worried about it that much going to this event, I guess, I don't know what some of his other conversations were like, but shows me that maybe he got some sort of credible intel that people had made comments about it, about his presence at UVU or anything like that, with those kind of interesting. And I bring that point up to say that I haven't heard, her blame this on the left at all, really. Her whole thing has been, it's Israel, it's France, it's, people involved with Charlie's organization. That's who it's been. And it's just really interesting because the person who's on trial for his murder is, categorically on the left based on some of the modifiers about this person, right? So if that's real, what he said, and if you can verify the text messages, to me, it just supports the side that is the narrative. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, like 100%. Like I was telling you before we started this, man, like going through this debate was mentally exhausting today, just because of like the number of logical circles that we had to run through. And honestly, I don't think that it was a particularly good showing on either side. I think that Andrew won, but it was kind of like a one, like a win by technicality, definitely not a win by knockout by any means. And we'll get to it here in a second. I think Candace basically hung herself. But you know, to the point that you're making, yes, 100%, dude. And I'm sure that he was getting, just one last thought on it. Like, I'm sure Charlie was getting, you know, constant, you know, security updates from his team. Cause I know he had a team, and he was as plugged in and online as anybody in this space, and was constantly seeing the stuff that was coming out about him. So he had his finger on the pulse pretty well, for sure.
Sure. I do wonder why he thought that the left, you know, some of these specifically, you know, there's been plenty of violence on the left of the past couple of years for him to worry about his life, obviously. But to say, to remind them they're there for security for one person and one person only, that, I don't know. If I were to read that, let's say I work for Charlie or somebody else who I was doing security for, and somebody said that to me, hey, remember, you're here for Charlie, right? And made an emphasis on that. Like, to me, this sounds like, well, why do you doubt that I am not thinking about you? Like, was there a general concern about a lack of security? Was there general concern about maybe complacency? I don't know. You know, some of these things come to mind as somebody who has worked a lot of security before. Why you're telling me and reminding me why I'm out there. That's what would invoke sort of thoughts in my mind, why somebody is being very specific like that, I guess. It could just be because he's worried about his own life, but, you know, I guess maybe, and that just be my bias as somebody who's done security, his pretty much entire military career, that I take it, like, look at it from like a personal standpoint, right? Like, oh, well, what do you mean? Of course I'm here for you. You know what I mean? So it could be one of those things, but just something to think about, I guess.
He traveled with a lot of
interesting.
Yeah, he traveled with a lot of people too, and there was a lot of people at that event specifically. So I don't know if he was concerned about his dudes getting spread out, you know, for the people that were traveling with him, and like, hey, let's make sure we keep it tight. But I do agree with you that when he uses those words specifically, like, that's an inference for something that was happening on his team, or something that had a pattern of behavior, right? That he maybe started to notice with his team, or something like that, where, you know, you can tell coded language that one person sends to another inside of an organization, where, you know, of what I speak when I say this, you're here for one person only. Remember that, right? But what it was, it would be interesting to know.
Yeah. No, I just like this video mostly because it presented an opportunity to kind of poke at Andrew, I guess, because if you're looking at this debate as we have one side or the other, I definitely would sit on the side with Andrew, in that I think that Candace Owens is full of shit and a liar. But it gives me the opportunity to say, well, some of the evidence that you just presented is at the same threshold as some of the evidence that she presents. You're reading a text message from your phone that you won't show who is from, and, you know, saying you're going to slow leak some of this stuff, which is basically what you have been accusing Candace of doing, of slow leaking these things and playing it out so that she's continuing to make money every video, all these other things. So we'll see if he actually does do that. So, you know, until then, he's kind of using the same tactic that he's accused her of doing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Just being fair. And this is the opportunity to show some objectivity here that I don't really like that. If you're going to get on this debate, you know how many people are going to sit there and watch this thing. I would be interested to see the numbers. I know a lot of people hosted it here on Rumble. I saw Timcast was talking about it right now. That Timcast episode was sitting at 10,000 live viewers when I clicked into our stuff. So that's a ton of people. So if you know you have probably one of the biggest audiences in the world over here, you know, on Rumble or on X or on YouTube, or anywhere else that this was being streamed, you had the opportunity to present that text message. Clearly, you could have given it to PBD and been like, hey, this is, you know, so-and-so. Here's the metadata. Like, what an opportunity to do that. And just completely just slam her. So, you know, just want to say objectively that he could have done that.
Got to. You got to stay fair.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. Here's the next one, going into Candace getting fact checked with her own footage, which is always fun.
There's so many people that do this to her too.
There's a ton of ammo to do it with.
I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination, and I'm going to put that out there with full confidence.
Okay.
I also
involvement.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you think you with full confidence, you think that
I think
that
Israel's
France
involved.
and Israel
involvement to almost absolve herself of the accusation that they killed him, right? I just want to point that out right away. It was the first thing she did. You can keep playing the video, but that's what she did immediately.
And, I want to take this opportunity to make the point, too, that her snarky tone throughout the entire debate, like a classic tactic by somebody who's trying to manipulate the situation through tone of voice. At one point, I think she says to him, and we may have it in one of these clips, like, well, I can't understand it for you. So if you're not going to, like, we're just going to have to move on and things like that. I don't know who those tactics work on when it comes to debates, because debates are about the logic of what you're saying, not the tone in which you're saying it in. But I know that there's probably more people than I'm comfortable with that would watch this and just listen to how she's speaking, not a word of what she's speaking, and go, oh, she killed it. Just because, we call it loudership in the military. It's just like, you can be retarded confidently. Right. It doesn't mean you're right.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. I agree with you.
But yeah, we'll jump back into it.
I mean, the person that gave me that thing that I reported said that French Foreign Legion were on the ground that day. Mm-hmm. Again, this would be at a professional limitation for me to then go and probe that information that I handed over. I can't do that. I'm not the United States government. But you don't have any
positive evidence of that. Okay. Right?
Liz, can you just stop? It's actually just like annoying to hear you keep saying positive evidence. I've just asked me what I think, and I just tell you, yes, I think they are involved.
That's a claim.
No, I said, here's what I think.
I have every right to ask you about your claim.
Yeah, but
and if there's positive evidence for your claim.
In this statement, I literally just said, I think, and I am allowed to think. And
yeah, you're allowed to think, but you're making a claim.
I have tons of positive evidence that I'm allowed to think.
I agree. You're allowed to think. Nobody's disputing whether or not Candace Owens is allowed to think. What I'm asking is if you have
what's your issue then? What is your issue with the statement? I think that Israel is involved.
That's not just what you said. You said...
I did say I think.
It's with full confidence.
Yes.
You would think that if you had full confidence...
Can you have confidence to think when you think?
If I said, for instance, I think I'm going to be late to work, right, with full confidence, I would say my evidence for that is that I'm 20 minutes away and I need to be there in 5.
Andrew.
That's how you would know whether or not you had full confidence. I'm going to tell
you something.
Hang on, let me finish.
Sure.
Let me finish. If it was the case that I said I have full confidence I'm going to be late to work, I would say my evidence that I'm going to be is that work is 20 minutes away, right? And I have to be there in 5. So I have full confidence. That's why I would think that. So I'm asking, if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you say with full confidence, I'm just asking for the evidence, or at least walk me through the mindset of why it is that you could think that with evidence.
I actually don't have to walk you through why I think. I can give you something that I think with full confidence. I think with full confidence that you lost the substance of this debate, and now you're moving toward things that I have said that I think, which I can do.
They're allowed to think that. To this debate.
Actually, would you like to remind him of what our debate claims actually were?
And would you like to remind you said I could ask you about any of these things to my heart's content?
Feel free, but you do not get to structure how I'm allowed to reply or ask me why are you allowed to think.
I'm not structuring how you're allowed to reply. I'm just asking you direct questions.
I have full confidence that you do not feel that you represented your claim well. And so now what you came prepared to do is to present yourself like a professor of fallacies.
I just want to know.
And to say, you're not allowed to say that. You can't.
You can say whatever you want. Nobody's disputing that.
I'm asking. It seems like you are disputing it. I think that when this is all said and done, I've already explained to you. I explained at the beginning of this why I think Israel is ultimately going to be proven to have involvement in this. I just explained to you in the middle, and now you're wanting me to structure the sentence or provide evidence. You don't have to. You're just allowed to think. And I've explained to you my thought process. I don't need to structure it in a sentence. If you feel like a professor today, you picked the wrong day.
Don't you think that like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people would want to know what Candace Owens' positive evidence for why it is that Israel and France were involved in the most traumatic public assassination of Gen Z's lifetime is?
That's why they watch my podcast.
So you're just going to drip to them?
There's so much to unpack there.
I know. Yeah.
So she's using the think thing as a red herring, right? That she's basically using that to latch on and distract from the entire point the whole time. Because whether or not the fact that she thinks it is relevant, but once he moves on to why you think that, and let's talk about evidence, latching on to the I can't think thing immediately becomes a way to divert attention from the main issue, which is that she will not provide evidence. And she says at the end there that I've already explained my thought process to you. You haven't, because if your thought process had been explained, then you would have provided evidence for it. Now, even if that evidence was, here's all these things that are anecdotal that I think, and they kind of add up to why I have this opinion, but I can't prove it. I will not say with 100% confidence that I think that this happened, that X, Y, and Z. That's fine. You're not making a solid claim, which he's right that she is making a solid claim. There is no evidence for this. And then to sit there and say, that, oh, well, that's why they watch my podcast, don't you? And he says, don't you think that the tens of thousands of people who are listening or watching or whatever he said want to see that positive evidence? And she says, no. Like, yeah, you're right. They don't, because they do sit and watch you. And people that will sit there and tell you, I saw so many comments today. Like somebody actually said, they go, how can you sit there and say she isn't providing evidence? And everybody was like, please, just one thing. What did she say that was real evidence of this that doesn't begin with I believe or I think? You're totally fine to believe one thing, right? Like, I think Charles Manson was a part of MK Ultra, whether directly or indirectly. And I think that there is enough evidence to suggest that the people that he was around, that he was Jolly West being one of those people.
Why
the consistent
do you think that,
amount of time that he was released from prison when he shouldn't have been? His close relationship with Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, all of these things. I think that. I can't prove it, but I think it. Right. And all these people, there's all this, right? You see what I'm saying? There's a big fucking difference. And just to sit there and straw man and red herring, there's really more, that's more of a red herring turning the thinking thing into it. But to sit there and do that, that's it. What you just saw is her best evidence.
Yes.
I think. Yeah. That's it.
No, you're absolutely right. And I want to say that Crowder did like a post game with him and had him call in. And Andrew Wilson had made the statement that, like millions of people just saw the fact that she doesn't have any evidence. And, I think he kind of got a little pushback from Crowder about his performance or whatever.
Really?
And a little bit.
Say about his performance?
A little bit. And it was more in like a jesting tone. But Andrew's defense to that was, well, once she said she didn't have any evidence, there was nowhere for me to go with it. He was like, that's what I was there to prove. And that
what clip can you argue with?
Exactly. So it kind of left him like with no weapons, because he's like, well, I guess that's conversation over, as far as it goes. And I do think that clip was where she lost the substance of the debate. We'll play the clip here where I think that she lost it, like on the scoreboard. If you want to actually pin this to the wall and go to the rules of a debate by logic, I'll show where I think that she lost it as far as that goes. But dude, that is exactly what I'm talking about. First of all, the Oscar goes to PBD right there at remaining like he looked like he was interested in what these two people were talking about the fourth time they went around the carousel in that loop, right? Because that whole debate had the atmosphere of watching a couple at couples therapy.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like, and it was just like, dude, I can't even take this seriously anymore at a certain point, because
I would think that if she said, let's just say, like, there's an actual claim she made about why she thinks Israel was there. Maybe it's this airplane that I've heard her talk about before.
Right.
At least there's something to poke at, right? Like, where did you get that information? What was the tail number? How do you know the tail, right? All these things that you can start to like pull on. Sure. You can't pull on, I think this. The only way you can do that is what he did. And that's explain your thought process, essentially. What is the evidence in your mind that is bringing you down this path toward this conclusion? And all she did was get upset about it and tell him that he can't ask her why she's thinking, and then accuse him of saying that she's not allowed to think on her own show. Like, that's not what he said at all. It's nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to pull up go to X over here. Okay. I'm going to pull this one straight out of X. And so these are the 2 points. So we're going to start here at the very beginning, right? And PBD is going to ask them what their stances are, what the claims they're making, and then he goes on to ask them what percentage they believe in these. So check this out. Let me make sure everybody can hear this.
Just out of curiosity, are you between 0 to 100? What is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know. I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
0%.
0%.
I'm at 0.
So
with what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at 0%.
So not only, that maybe somebody was behind him as a patsy influencing him. You're not even saying that he didn't even shoot Charlie Kirk.
Right. I would, if you said, was he involved that day, as I have consistently said on my platform, I would say yes, he was. I don't know what role he played, but as the shooter, 0%.
Do you have any evidence for it?
For what? My percentage?
The fact that he didn't.
For your claim.
Shoot and kill Charlie Kirk.
Yes, which I'm hoping we're going to get to all of the evidence that he feels that he has. I mean, I'm not even convinced.
Okay, well,
that's not even an answer.
Spoiler alert, they didn't get to the evidence, right?
Well, that's not even an answer. Do you have evidence? First was deflection. Next is, well, I hope we all get into the evidence later.
Right.
Like, okay. Why not lead the debate off with evidence? Wouldn't that be a great way to start a debate, is with making a claim and then backing it up with evidence? Saying 0% that he's the shooter. It's crazy too, because she's made statements before about she hopes he doesn't go to jail. Like, if you think he's involved in the murder in some way, shape, or form, even if he wasn't the trigger puller, then why would you make a statement like that?
Right.
It's just the goalpost moves constantly.
Okay, so we're officially live.
I hope you're playing videos and everybody can hear the audio. I don't know if you know that.
I'm so sorry. Sorry, I was trying to keep this next one. Didn't know that was going.
Yeah, no.
Thanks.
But yeah, no, there's just no, I don't remember what I was going to say now, but yeah, pull the next video up.
Yeah, I just got to cue this up here because it's like 35 minutes in. So let me, that's why I was trying to cue it up in the background. So I do apologize for distracting.
Lotus says she really is butt-ass ugly. Candace, I guess I agree.
Dang.
Watchfire says, Ratchet says, I'm not sure I could watch another one. Sorry, we're not going to spend the whole episode doing this.
No, this is really the kind of the last point that I wanted to make here, but it should be, let's see, 34, 35. Bear with me, guys, because I actually recorded the whole thing today, and I'm glad that I did, because this clip that I got pulled up here wasn't like, I haven't seen anybody put it on X, but I pulled up that one before to show that she started off the entire debate, kind of insanely to my mind, putting herself in the most indefensible position ever, and that being like she was trying to prove, her claim was proving a universal negative. There is a 0% chance that guy was the shooter. Like that is an insane, the word just flew out the back of my head, but that's an insane stance that you now have to defend, right?
Oh yeah.
That you set up. And so,
well, now, he safely said 75 to 85%, which I think is fair, given that the guy is still on trial and we have the presumption of evidence here.
Right.
Like the second that he, yeah, I think that's a totally reasonable thing to say. If she would have said 30% or something like that, like, okay, you're leaving yourself some wiggle room. There is no other stance. 100% or 0% are absolutes.
Right, which is insane. And so now here we'll jump back in, and then this is where I thought, again, on the scoreboard, it's like, oh, well, there's the debate over, because now you've refuted yourself and what your stance is that you said you're arguing on behalf of.
Yeah.
It's not a fact. It's not a fact. When you show a blurry image, which you kept citing that we have images.
No, I'm talking about your inference that the fingerprints, even if they're degraded, equals patsy. How do you get that inference?
I didn't say it equals patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored, which is exactly what this preliminary was in the inverse.
That's not in dispute. What's in dispute is when you said, I'm using this as evidence that he could have been a patsy. I'm asking, how do you get the inference to patsy from that?
Because what I am saying is that it shows that somebody else had more DNA presence on that gun than Tyler Robinson did. So it is plausible, which is all they're doing. They're presenting plausibility based off of the facts, okay? It is plausible that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Is there equally...
That's how it works.
And is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
just so we're clear,
if there's 100 other plausible explanations, then Candace, Why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a patsy. I am saying that there is.
I thought that was the whole your whole claim.
No,
today.
my whole claim was that
Which
there
was
more evidence that he has set up as a patsy.
How does that equal evidence of patsy?
I don't know how many times I can say this. Like I'm saying that I am using the exact same mechanism that you are accepting for some reason in the Utah courtroom.
Yeah.
Right. To say, I'm going to look at the evidence and I'm going to infer an alternative theory. So you just saw the states and you're accepting it. And they have not presented any concrete facts. You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Anyway, so to me, like, that was it. He did a great job, which is exactly what I would have done, of going back and going, no, this was your original claim, that there's a 0% chance that he was the shooter. You're saying that he was a patsy. And then he got her in, rebutting to be like, no, I'm saying there's more evidence for this than there is against. And it's like, well, that's not 0% now.
Right.
So I don't know what to talk about after that.
any other time that she's been confronted with an inconsistency in what she says, she walks it back with a safer claim. Well, I'm just saying this is a possibility is what she's doing, which is everything you need to know about her personal conviction on what she's saying. She has no problem making this assertion or inference, to use his word, that Tyler Robinson is a patsy or that there's evidence that he's a patsy. You don't need to run with that. And that's a good point. You could say, okay, well, there's other DNA on the rifle, right? That needs to be explored. Was he a patsy? Was this a family member? There's all these other options for reasons why. Could it be the fact that the chain of custody for the evidence wasn't done properly and somebody who handled the evidence got DNA on that rifle? There's a bunch of different things that it could be. And that's the point. It's not, that also isn't evidence that he isn't a patsy, which isn't what Andrew was saying. That's not to the what is that? The syllogism here. It does not make, the lack of evidence does not make up for evidence. It doesn't become evidence, right? But she has this safety net she always does, where she just runs right back to, well, I didn't mean it that solid. I was just saying this could be it, which isn't what she does. She will 100, like she has just done. I, with 100% confidence, know France and Israel were involved. 0% chance that he wasn't the shooter. All these things. And that's literally all she does. And people have no problem defending her when she does it, because the claim she makes once she's confronted is defensible now. Well, I'm only saying it could be this. No, then why did you build an entire platform around this entire thing about investigating Charlie's murder? And why did you build this entire platform around the presumption of the fact that Tyler Robinson was involved in a conspiracy but may not be the shooter? The reason why is because all of this is a very interesting story that you can use to build a body of work over the past 11 months, get millions of views, get paid by all of these platforms to do it, right? Never have to present a single source. Frankly, if you cared so much about, and she made that comment that one time about, I don't know why Tyler Robinson's defense hasn't reached out to me for any of my evidence. Probably because they think you're full of shit. And the evidence that they have, they know, is solid enough that he's fucked, right? Like all of these things. It's just, the thing that's frustrating to me is why people have such a low threat. No, you're fine. This is the last thing I'll say. I'll kick it to you. But like, why people have such a low threshold for the truth. Like, recognize once she has to take a step back, the claim she's making is defensible. Fine, but that's not where she exists. She exists in where she was meeting resistance all the time, and treat her that way. Fine, okay, cool. I can't take you seriously because the second that the solid thing that you're saying with conviction is tested, you fall away. Like, I clearly can't believe you. Like, treat her like a liar. Anybody in your life who's ever tried to gaslight you, right? The second you confront them with evidence, the thing that they do is deflect and deviate away from the point. That's all she's doing.
Yeah. And later on in the debate, right, like she literally says that she's not willing to say that because she doesn't want to get into a legal pickle I'm not going to say that here. And it's like, oh man, just to put an exclamation point.
Our
on
entire podcast is a legal pickle.
Yeah, no, seriously. The final point that I wanted to make is the money side of this whole thing was very disgusting to me. The figure that I read today is at the height of their stream, they were making $1,500 a minute to do this and
Holy cow,
and
bro.
to relitigate a lot of this stuff, to which, Andrew at one point pulled out the coroner's summary and went through some of that stuff, as they were talking about evidence of whether or not he was shot in the 30-06 round and all of that jazz. And it was very clear to me, and, or anybody with medical knowledge, like listening to the coroner's summary, like just how much massive tissue damage was done. And I was like, that sounds like a high velocity rifle round to me. And the other thing too, I wanted to share with you and maybe some of you guys, do you remember when the day that it happened and you called me and we were talking offline about decor etiquette and decerabit posturing? And I was just like, like before we ever went live about it, behind closed doors, I was like, brother, he's dead. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, he's dead. And in the coroner's summary, it said that there was an entire section of his cervical spinal cord that was gone. That was just vaporized. So it's like the only piece of mercy from the whole thing is that his head was basically disconnected from his body as part of it. I hope that's not too gruesome for you guys, but small mercies.
Would that mean, not to be like, that's stark to think, but if his head was disconnected like that, would that mean that he suffocated?
In all technicality, yeah, right. But remember the sensation of like burning in your lungs and everything. You're also not getting any nerve sensations back and forth too. So science has actually been trying to figure out for a long time after decapitation happens, like how much the head can take on. And there's been several, I think during the French Revolution and during some other parts of world history, there's been several scientists that wanted to study heads immediately after they were decapitated and asked prisoners to blink and do other things. And they were able to for up to about 10 seconds. Right. But, to how much like pain he felt, or how much did he feel like he had to gasp for air, or all that stuff. I will tell you this, because the round was so close to the occipital portion of his brain and his brain stem, he almost certainly had a sensation of his bell being rung and the lights going out. It was almost because of the concussion,
as much as it,
and how that concussion like went through the head up through the brain stem and basically slapped the bottom of his brain with a percussion wave. He was almost certainly just unconscious the second the round hit. But
I hope that's what it was, man. I mean,
for sure.
But I do want to ask you this fucking question, and I'm going to tell you like up front, you have the right to refuse to answer it, because this is more like a question I would ask you in private, but I'm really curious I want to know what you think about it, because there's another Green Beret in this that's gotten brought up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And he gets, I only want to say this because he gets used as a source for evidence before, right?
Yeah.
And over and over and over again, and makes his own claims about this.
Yeah.
And it gets used all the time, like Ian Carroll and her, that like, well, this Green Beret says this about this, and like, that's going to be what it is, I think, right? And you, Green Beret Nap Time, all disagree. It's like, well, if the threshold for evidence is that this person is a Green Beret, well, our podcast has a Green Beret who just so happened to be an 18 Delta Special Forces medic, and then there's Chase over here on Green Beret Nap Time who disagree with him. So why is it the threshold is only okay for your side when, to use to say it's a Green Beret, but it doesn't matter when another, Green Beret or somebody else who's a PJ or whatever? I'm just sticking with the Green Beret thing because that's what she brought him up today in this debate. Yeah, she brought him up today in this debate, and that's his only qualifier, right? Is that he's this thing.
Well, she brought that up, and then she also brought up a video that he had made, proving that 30-06 rounds at 150 yards could go through 3/4-inch steel plates or whatever it is that he did as his pseudoscience experiment. To answer your first question, it's just an argument to authority, which I have always been anti-argument to authority. Anybody that's lived through COVID should be anti-argument to authority at this point.
Fauci thing.
But people still trot it out to make up the gap of when they want something to be true, but they don't know how to draw the logic line to get there. So if somebody that has impressive credentials on the wall agrees with me, well, then I'm just going to wear their rank, as we would say in the military, and now I know that it's right. Forgetting the point that generals can be retards too, obviously.
Plenty of them. Right.
But going back to, we're talking about Nate from Valhalla VFT, and I'm not going to descend into like smearing or anything. I just want to talk about the video that he made. I had serious issues with, because he set up the firing line, and he set up two 30-06s, and then he began to fire at different pieces of meat. I think he had a bovine, which is cow cervical section, so that he could look at that. He had a bovine femur, and then I think he had some various, like a pumpkin, a watermelon, and maybe some other things like that. And then he also went to shooting 3/4 inch steel. And his point was that he proved that he could this is all he proved in his video, was that using a bolt action rifle that they were using, he could put 30-06 rounds through 3/4 inch steel at 150 yards. That's all he proved. Okay. And he went at and of course the entire video was made to debunk the fact that Charlie Kirk could possibly have been shot using a 30-06 round. That was the claim that he was making. In the medical community, tests have what's called sensitivity and specificity. All right. And his tests were very, very low on the sensitivity scale and very, very low on the specificity scale. The reason I'm bringing this up is because sensitivity is the probability that something can be ruled true, can be ruled in, right? Specificity is the probability that something can be ruled out. So to take this back to the medical field, you want a test that is very, very highly sensitive, and you want a test that's very, very highly specific. The sensitive test is going to rule in the disease process that you think that it is, and the specific test, the highly specific test, is going to rule out all other disease processes, right? Okay. So not to belabor the point for anybody, and I don't want to insult your guys' intelligence.
Oh, you're good.
But what I'm trying to say is, if let's take something like Down syndrome, okay? Down syndrome, there are highly sensitive and highly specific tests that can be drawn in order to look for, do you have 3 copies of chromosome 21? Well, guess what? I can literally look at your DNA sequencing, right? And if 3 of them are in there, that is highly sensitive, because that is one of the hallmarks that causes that disease. So now I know I've ruled it in with the sensitive test. And then it's also highly specific because no other disease process comes from 3 copies of this disease. So I've ruled out everything else and I've ruled in what I want. His tests were low sensitive, right? Because all he proved was, can I do this with a 30-06? Well, yes, you can now. But how many different types of ammunition did you try? Was it the same rifle model, barrel length, twist rate,
distance?
Distance he got wind. Roughly, but wind, atmosphere, angle, he just shot on a flat range. So we didn't change any of the other variables to get to ruling in whether or not it was possible. He didn't change a single variable. He stuck with, or at least in his video, I didn't see, because he didn't talk about the ammunition that he used. He just proved that you could do this with that rifle. Okay, that's fine. But you didn't change any of the variables to see if you could replicate what the coroner's summary showed or what was in the video, if that makes sense. And then his test was also very low specific, again, because he didn't change any freaking variable. He could have gone, hey, let's try a 150 grain round. Now let's try a 120 grain round. Let's try a frangible round. Let's try a hollow point. Let me try all these different types of ammunition, powder loads, so on and so forth, till I get down to see if I can replicate that, right? Like, that would have been a truly scientific test on it, but he didn't do it. And so I've belabored that point long enough, and I don't want to take anybody around the carousel anymore, but that was the video from the content creator that she referenced to base her entire argument about the ballistics argument and all of that evidence that she was talking about. And I found that video was very poorly conceived. The scientific experiment that he performed wasn't even actually a scientific experiment whatsoever. He went into it with a massive agenda, presupposing his hypothesis, and then only showed content using rounds and rifles in order to show that it was impossible based on, look what I just did. I put rounds through steel. So if it goes through steel, right, then that means that's not what the ballistics would have looked like on a human neck at that range. And also, by the way, that's not true. And I don't care how much of a Green Beret you are. Just being a Green Beret doesn't mean you've been around a lot of trauma victims. I think he was a former 18 Echo, and then he was an 18 Fox, if I remember his career path correctly. So that means he was a commo guy and then an intelligence sergeant. So that doesn't mean that he spent a lot of time around trauma victims. It means no such thing. Whereas, like, as an 18 Delta, I can tell you I've seen a lot of gunshots, and my EMT bros will back me up on this. And anybody that spent time in a trauma bay or around trauma patients that's seen a lot of ballistic trauma will tell you bullets do weird freaking things when they hit the body. They just do. They will nick one bone and then all of a sudden ricochet, shred, do anything. Like, you can't even say that the rounds that he used, if he pulled them out of his grandpa's, I guess the weapon was supposed to be gifted to him. If it was an old dusty box of rounds, you can't prove that the round wasn't short powdered on accident, or that the bullet head hadn't been manipulated or torn up. So when the jacket hit, did the jacket on the outside come off and do something weird? So many factors that can't be accounted for.
Would you say that it is impossible to recreate the exact conditions for his assassination because of all these components? Like you said, you don't know what round went into the chamber. You don't know if it was short powdered, all these other things. You get what I'm saying?
It is possible for the people that know and have seen everything that's in evidence. It's possible for them.
So then to that point, right? This is a common thing that's done for the courtroom, is to reproduce events like this to test these theories.
Yeah.
And they have a higher threshold for evidence, like basically what you're describing. They will go to the links that they need to do to recreate the conditions exactly as close to exact as they were that day, so that what they're providing the courtroom is the best that it can be.
Yeah.
What he did is would in no way, shape, or form meet that threshold at all.
No,
it would be complete like that. If that is what somebody who professionally did that for the court presented as evidence, it would be rejected immediately. They would fire him or say, no, thanks. They would go to somebody else, make sure it's a controlled experiment, all of these things to the point you're making.
Yeah.
So the other half of that is that somebody who can think this way and has the experience that he did, obviously, right, knows better. And that right there is one of the things that is incredibly damaging, I would say, not only to him credibility wise, but to this entire thing. That if you have somebody who has the experience that they have, know that they're recreating an experiment that isn't exactly the way it should be, you know better, that right there is intentional propaganda, essentially.
That's exactly what I would call it. I mean, he set out to prove what he wanted to prove,
right,
in that video. And I don't even know why she's referencing him at this point, because there's videos circulating about her saying that Ian Carroll had this guy on the phone, and she names him there again and said that she refused to be on the phone with him because she got the ick, or however she described it. I can't remember, but she felt that they weren't being genuine with
Tyler
her.
Robinson in the staircase. That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, because I mean, we'll just use this. If you don't agree that that's Tyler Robinson, then you would just have to humor.
Sorry about that. X just randomly started playing in the background. But I don't understand why she referenced him here when she needed an appeal to authority, when in the past she's been on video saying that she refused to bring him on and talk to him.
I think that it just presents somebody that Andrew can't argue with, because he's not in the room. And then even if he was, it could be, well, you weren't, an 18 series, or you're not a doctor, or you're not a historian. So you can't argue with me. Right. Kind of like the whole, no uterus, no opinion kind of thing. It's just, that's what it is. It's another straw man who's not present in the room to basically hide behind, because it's impossible to argue with a person who's not present. And then you can't argue with their experience because you don't have that experience. Well, we can, because we do have somebody with that experience and the same bona fides, on a level. It's just that's why I wanted to ask you. I appreciate you answering the question. And I think you did a really good job explaining the way that those tests are done and the accuracy levels that they go to. But I don't know how many more videos you had, if we want to just jump from this.
I'm done with the Candace topic. We've chewed up an hour, dude.
We have, yeah. So the one thing that I do want to bring up, there's another video here, unless you want to palate cleanse real fast, which is totally fine with me. But I've got a video of JD Vance next that I want to talk about. But we can jump into, like you said, or like I was saying, if you want to do a palate cleanser, we can do that real quick, or what? Yeah,
let's do it. The people doth cry out for a cleansed palate.
Right, here we go. It's either maple or alder.
When you lift it up, keep it close to you, so so it doesn't. What? Oh, really?
That's a wet fart.
Yeah. Do you have a syrupy breakfast?
I do. I tell you, every fart from like my 33rd birthday on has been oatmeal. What happened? What happened? It's deep. My butt crack is deep. It's an 8-inch travel from the anus sphincter to the open air. And it's a soupy mess in there right now.
That is a needless amount of exposition.
I did not need them. Yeah, right. There's a higher threshold for evidence there than this is presented, right? That's Helm's Deep right there, bro.
That's pretty, yeah.
I don't know if that's a palate cleanser, but it was definitely made you laugh. You know,
I got another one. You want to go double barrel on this one?
Oh, sure. I just was laughing because it's gross.
Lockheed Martin, what are you making, buddy?
We're making a plane that can launch planes to fight other planes.
What? You off your meds again?
They were only back from creating an airplane aircraft carrier.
Did you try to create an Imperial destroyer?
Nah, we did it first. Marvel and Star Wars can suck.
Okay, what could it do?
The CL-1201 would have had a wingspan of over 1,100 feet, 560 feet long, was powered by a nuclear reactor that could keep it flying for 41 straight days. But since it couldn't fit on most runways, it had to be able to vertically take off and land. It could carry over 12 million pounds, including 11 fighter aircraft on each wing that it could deploy like the world's angriest hornet's nest. This thing single-handedly could take over most countries.
Okay. We're gonna get you back on your meds.
Yeah, that seems fair. Maybe we shouldn't make this one yet. But man, when the aliens come, they're gonna be surprised.
Bro, I would love to see that.
I know.
I can't. The danger that would come with a flying nuclear reactor, that's kind of nuts. But I would love to see something like that. That'd be pretty sick.
See, yeah. I just agree with you. I didn't have anything to add. Okay.
Well, like I said, I got a video. This next video is JD Vance talking about the Federal Reserve. Oh, it's already playing. The Federal Reserve, and this is, like I said, this is one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen. But I don't want to sway you guys too much in the live chat, so let's pull it up.
That's exactly right. And by the way, I'm this is like maybe super heterodox. I am not sure that I think the reserve currency is actually good for the United States of America. I think there is a good argument that reserve currency status is akin to coal in Appalachia. It's a resource curse, right? It allows your consumers to consume very cheaply, right? That's been the story of the American economy for the last 15 or so years. Even before that, is we can just borrow basically in an unlimited way because we have the reserve currency.
Mm-hmm.
Can't hear it anymore.
I just killed it.
Oh, okay. So I find his comparison to be really retarded, because if he wants to compare the dollar being the world's reserve currency to coal in Appalachia, like somehow America is cursed by the fact that the rest of the planet wants to hold our currency and buy U.S. debt to settle trade with our money and then plug it back in our financial system. It's an absolutely insane way to think about the Federal Reserve and then the way that we exact soft power. Coal is something you dig out of the ground and sell. The dollar is a global infrastructure. Those are not the same things, right? It is part of the operating system of the global economy. We have laid this out before when we talked about China a lot, right? Countries store their wealth in our reserve currency. Banks clear transactions through. We've talked about SWIFT before. Commodities are priced in the US dollar. And looking at this and saying, what are we really getting out of this is fucking retarded. Like, we get cheaper capital. He says this is like a myth, right? We get enormous foreign demand for US Treasury securities. You get to borrow in our own currency on our terms. There is no other country on earth that can do something like that, not to that degree. And when the United States needs to finance something like a war, which we seem to always be in, or respond to a financial crisis like the pandemic, okay, or simply, servicing the debt that we already have, the entire world is there on the other side of that because of the currency being the Federal Reserve currency for the world, willing to buy dollar denominated assets. Like, how can you sit there and even compare that to coal mining? I mean, I don't know if he's like trying to appeal to his original audience, right? His hillbilly elegy audience, but like, if you want to complain about the national debt, which we do all the time, we complain about it constantly. I don't think you should casually advocate weakening the financial architecture that makes the debt cheaper for us. The dollar on top of that also is a weapon. Like I said at the top of this rant, soft power, United States soft power, all these sanctions that we do. And I get it. Like, countries can build ways around certain sanctions, but they still have an effect on it. That's how we sanction Russia, China, all these other countries, Iran, freezing assets, cuts a bank out of the financial system, can't use SWIFT to do things anymore. We have all of these oligarchs around the world that finance terrorism that can't use their fucking banks. And that's because of the reserve currency. It is a power that we can exercise without putting boots on the ground in a country. It has literally been the stand-in for military power before. So talking about this, like, West Virginia, he's from Ohio, right? Like West Virginia, Ohio right, has too many fucking coal mines is basically what he's complaining about. Because if somebody like China could tomorrow make the yuan the world's reserve currency, they 100% fucking would. And so what he's actually talking about here is multipolarity, a multipolar world. And if there is a multipolar currency system, then it doesn't mean everybody, holds hands and it's all fine and we're going to all trade and get along. It also doesn't mean that it makes our ability to manufacture things at home better, because that's like kind of one of the points he's trying to make with this. But all of the privileged demand that the U.S. Treasury has and the borrowing that America has becomes incrementally more expensive. That's not good for you, right, as a consumer. And I don't know if he has a problem with this as being like economic nationalism, which is something that he's talked about before. But like, if you think that globalization was a problem for the United States in manufacturing, which obviously you and I do, we've had guests on to talk about this before, then attack globalization, not the Federal Reserve and the reserve currency, right? Or don't attack the reserve currency. If you have a problem with it, you can rewrite trade policy, which is what we've done all year. You could cut regulation. You can get rid of a fuckload of the tax code, which we totally agree should happen. You can reshore. Not even going to say nearshore. Reshore strategic industries like chip making and drone making, which I'll talk about later, and building ships and all this other crap, and stop letting a country like China, who would gladly step in as the world's reserve currency, from manipulating the market here at home. So I just don't think that you fix American industrial policy by taking a fucking nuke to the power that is the American dollar around the world, right? Great powers around the world have problems. because of their power and their ability to either ability or inability to exercise that power. Obviously, the Navy costs money. Maintaining bases overseas costs money. Maintaining alliances costs money because we pay other countries all the time for dumbass shit. But nobody seriously looks at a bill for 7th Fleet and walks away thinking that, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't be patrolling or controlling the Pacific, and that, you know, doing any of that isn't doing anything for us. Like, you and I have laid out so much how much 5th Fleet, 7th Fleet, any of these other carrier strike groups or whatever that sail around the world and protect global trade is somehow not good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're talking about literally one reality and another by saying something like that. And so to me, and this is my opinion, he knows he's referring to multipolarity, and it's one of these things where it's like, you're too smart to convince me you're this fucking dumb.
Yeah.
So I want to know why you want to say something like that and why you would infer something like that and make a statement this way. I think it's on purpose. So I immediately question your narrative or your motivation as to why you would say something like that. What do you fucking think?
That's exactly where my brain was going, is like, I'm going to go back and watch that whole thing to see if he comes back around to it or tries to clarify. Cause I'm like, what are you actually getting at? Because you can't just drop a bomb like that and then just casually move on. And by the way, the sophistry that you love to point out all the time, just asserting it like it's true. You know, he started it off by hedging and saying this might be really heterodox, but then, you know, he goes on and he makes that assertion like it's true, like West Virginia with the coal, and we have it, but obviously, and then he moves on. And you're like, no, not obviously. Go back on that last point that you were making and expound on that. Because again, you laid it out perfectly. You're way too smart to be this dumb. It's almost one of the things that would happen when, you know, he said reserve and he meant another word in his mind, but that doesn't make sense either, because I can't think of another word to slip into that sentence and just say, oh, he got his verbology mixed up and he meant something else.
Yeah,
like, he clearly was talking about that, but you can't just bounce on that statement, homie, and then bounce off like you didn't just say that.
That is such a drastic opinion.
Yeah.
Right. You are talking about the world America built and just getting rid of it. That's it. That's what you're talking about. Like, and if you want to sit there and like surrender unipolarity as it drifts away from us into multipolarity by talking about the reserve currency, like we talked about coins earlier today, we won't get into that like too much, but like you want to talk about ontologically and then every other illogical way that you can change the world, that would change the world. Countries around the world would have to spend money to fix that from happening, to create other processes for themselves. It's such an insane statement. I can't, like, if it's him or fucking Gavin Newsom, like, I guess, bro.
Yeah, that's a dangerous opinion to have for somebody that might be the leader of the Republican Party.
That's what I'm saying. If we're talking, if it's fucking 2028 and we're talking about JD Vance or Gavin Newsom, just to like throw two fucking names out there, right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'm voting for JD Vance. I mean, I'm voting for a third party candidate. I don't know, but that opinion to me is dumb enough to make me not ever want to vote for him as president, and would much rather see somebody else, be there.
It's either a dangerous misunderstanding of economics and the American system and what it's built on, American economics at least is what I'm saying, or it's highly sinister. I don't really see a spot in between those two extremes when you say that.
I think it's on purpose. I don't know because he says a lot of stuff that's not like fiscally or traditionally conservative at all. He has. Remember, we talked a long time ago about that book, Dark Enlightenment, and we talked about how it presents this position that the United States and the world should be run like a CEO or run by a CEO. Like, this is that sort of stuff. Like, think about the tree he comes off of. Again, these are inferences, right? I'm not saying he actually thinks this way because he's friends with Peter Thiel, but like, he comes off this Thiel tree, right? You get what I'm saying? These are the things that I ponder in the back of my mind, but I'm not saying are true. But statements like that, right, say a lot to me about how you think. And I don't think you are too smart to convince me you're that dumb. But that's it. I couldn't believe when I saw that today, I was shocked.
Yeah, me too. And you when you sent it to me, right? And I'm like, this is quite literally taking a sledgehammer to the foundation of our economic
100%.
system while we're standing on it. Is what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. What are you replacing it with? Right? What are you doing with all these banks? What are you doing with everybody's mortgages? What are you doing? Like all of these things. Like what are we really talking about?
Yeah.
This isn't a fucking switch that you can flip and then automatically the world becomes not just multipolar with several currencies being transacted. Like everybody tries to use their currency and anything else they have as a resource, as a way to get a one up on other people.
Right.
Like we made this comparison before, but if you want to see what a unipolar or a multipolar world really looks like, just go look at Europe and the European peninsula. There's all these nations, right? Or kingdoms with relatively equal power. And what did they do for thousands of years? Nothing but fight one another and be completely and totally fucked up until they could figure their shit out. And then both these world wars just kind of seem to happen where? In Europe, right? Because of what? The fact that the British Empire had created such a global network that would, affected so many other places, and all these people were related to one another the first time. All these people that were royalty, like it's just there's so many things about this. And I use all of those examples about like monarchy and their relationships and sort of like who was the hegemon at the time to say there's all this networking and these roots that go down into all of this. Like you can't just casually throw out, let's just ditch the reserve currency. I kind of think this, like I kind of think that, I don't know, this year the Bama may not be that good. It's just kind of how casually that gets said. But anyway, I've beaten this dead horse over and over and over again.
Well, here, just over in the live chat, you guys, so this is from Doggo Wolves. You guys are probably the largest megaphone encouraging people to learn about sophistry. That alone, not mentioning other critical factors, is very, very important.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, Chris and I do talk about sophistry all the time.
Thank you.
I mean, I think that's kind of what's going on here. That's my opinion, right? What's my evidence for that? I just think that because I see how smart he is.
Don't ask me why I think it, but I definitely think it.
Right. Anyway, the next thing that we've got here, if you want to pull these articles up, I've got 2 articles here from Reuters and then The Hill to talk about the Supreme Court case, Trump versus California, also, and then the Alien Enemies Act as well. And we'll talk about those. Chris, if you want to just like pull them up to show.
Yeah, where you're getting them
places
from.
People
I'm not going to be able to
hang
hang out on the Reuters one too long because I'm not sub to it, but
yeah. I just want to show where people can go and read, where I'm talking about that way. And if you guys are wondering too, of course, we'll put these in the Discord later so you can go check them out. And Reuters obviously isn't the only source. It's just the one that I put a link in there for. So you can find the information from another source too.
That's not cool.
What? Did nothing come up?
I'm just shitting the bed on producer stuff tonight.
Normire asked if I had a dream. I didn't about it, but maybe if I did, might be better.
Right.
Who knows?
All right. Anyway, here's your Reuters one. So Trump admin again urges U.S. Supreme Court into, and then obviously, intervention on mail-in ballots. There it is before it. I'm not paying for a subscription to Reuters.
No, I don't either. Ground News will give you access to some of these things, though. So highly recommend Ground News. It's been a while since we talked about them. I think Ground News is worth the $70 a year. 100%. It's like literally the best aggregator. I don't even know if there's other aggregators out there. There probably are. I just don't go look for them because I'm content with what Ground News has got going on. But there's one more article just from The Hill if you want to pull it up real fast.
Yeah, got it right here.
I just want to show where.
No worries. There it is. Appeals Court rules key Alien Enemies Act lawsuit moot. Yeah. I spit my drink out when I read that. It was so funny. Reading down into it.
The word moot?
Not just moot, just reading down into I think it's like in either the first or second paragraph. They were like, oh yeah, these 3 guys that brought these cases that you asked us to look at, they're gone. So
Right.
Oh, well.
Right. Oh yeah.
I
No,
laughed.
we're going to talk about that. That right there is a small part of a bigger problem, right? And you and I have talked about this quite a bit, but I'm getting really sick and fucking tired of executive orders.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have to have elections secured with verified citizenship. I think asking somebody to prove who they are before they vote is a completely reasonable thing to ask. I think the way we handle mail-in ballots and voter rolls and then the chain of custody for those ballots deserves far more scrutiny than it gets. I could take a mail-in ballot for me here in California and drive it over to the local community college and just put it in a box. Like, that's not, to me, as somebody who did do a lot of security in his life, is not a very secure way about doing things. My frustration is that we keep trying to solve issues with band-aids, these things through the presidency. We have 3 different branches of government because Congress has become so fucking useless that everyone seems to just assume this is how government should work now, which is why when anybody's mad about something not going their way, the first person they go to blame is the president, rather than looking at the piece of government that's supposed to be functioning like this whole, government of the people by the people. That's where that's supposed to come from. Congress doesn't act. So the White House has to start looking for some existing authority. It's this dysfunction sort of forces other branches of government to try to figure out how to get things done.
Yeah.
So it's like, on one token, you can't blame them for trying, but on the other side of it, like, that's not the fit. You're putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, essentially. And the problem with this is, and this happens every time, an EO comes out, somebody sues, a district court judge blocks it. Obviously, the administration appeals. It goes to Supreme Court. There's quite a few of those this year that we've seen these work out, but nothing happens for months. And all this shit is just in limbo. You're talking about trying to get things done. We move at a snail's pace. And this one specifically is a Supreme Court case now, Trump versus California. But back in March, Trump signed an executive order dealing with citizenship verification and then election integrity. One of the more significant pieces of it is Section 3, which directs the Postal Service toward new rules on mail-in ballots, which includes tracking requirements for those ballots and then coordination with states over who is actually supposed to be receiving those ballots. So you're talking, that's a lot of thing to say, a chain of custody for your mail-in ballot, where it's going, who's handling it, all these things, right? I don't think that's unreasonable. At a policy level, I don't find the basic idea of that outrageous at all. If you are moving millions of ballots through the mail, then I would like to know where they are. How many times have we seen people in video walking in boxes of fucking ballots? I mean, like, where the hell did those come from? I don't see why it should be any different just because they're being moved by a postal carrier. I would like some confidence that the person receiving one is also legally entitled to receive a ballot, right? But once again, trying to get there through an executive order because President Trump feels like he can't get anything done through Congress is fucking pathetic. And there are 23 states, and then including DC, that sued. And then the judge, an Obama-era judge named Indira Talwani in Massachusetts, obviously blocked parts of this order. And then it went to Supreme Court, and they're petitioning the Supreme Court for relief. And that's as of today. But this week, the same judge, Talwani, I don't care if I'm saying her name right or not, but she brought another case by the, get this, the League of Women Voters and several other organizations. And she issued another injunction on the 11th of August, blocking Section 3 for the November election nationwide, right? So the Trump admin is asking the Supreme Court to deal with her first injunction, and now another one has landed on top of that injunction. And there's an office called the Solicitor General, and the Solicitor General went back to the court and told them essentially that you need to account now for this too. So now there's more red tape. And I went and looked her up because I'm like, this obviously who she represents, there's a lot here. But she was appointed to, like I said, to the federal bench by Barack Obama. And more recently, she has blocked the implementation of the federal law that cuts Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood. We all know how we feel about Planned Parenthood. Finding that Congress has effectively imposed a unconstitutional punishment on Planned Parenthood, which I find to be really funny. The First Circuit later reversed that. And the panel that was made up entirely of Biden appointees also blocked Trump administration's actions involving immigration parole and then federal grant terminations. So it's not the first time that this entire tree, right, Obama, her, Biden, some of these people that they've appointed, has just been completely and directly at odds with anything they're trying to do, which is another frustration. Chris, you and I have talked about this a lot, about national injunctions, find them to be total bullshit. One federally appointed district judge should not be able to take a case brought by a particular set of plaintiffs and then turn around and suspend federal policy for the entire country.
Yeah, it's wild.
Last year, the Supreme Court took, there was another case, it was Trump versus CASA. And the Supreme Court said that universal injunctions likely go beyond the equitable authority Congress actually gives the federal courts. That's what it said. And the central point, I think, is pretty simple here, that it's ordinarily supposed to be tied to who? The people that are involved, and that's it, not the whole fucking country. Yep. So the point here is, it's called standing. Exactly. Republicans control the House and the Senate and the White House. And at some point, the answer cannot be Democrats are blocking us. I blame the people who own the House, the Senate, and the White House for not getting this shit done. Because if the shoe was on the other foot and this was the Democrats, it's exactly who we would be blaming, because we fucking should.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think, though, that if the Full Save America Act is not going to get passed and can't get through, that you should narrow the focus of it and just focus on particular things inside of it? Get something done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, and you've put me in the position, you as in Congress, the government, you've put me in the position where it's like, give me something, anything, dude, because I'm sick and tired of any situation coming up like this, of any law trying to go through being passed that has anything to do with election integrity. And all I get from my government is the sentiment that you all hate election integrity. Right? Like, Democrats are evil about it and Republicans are pussies about it. But either way, you all hate it and don't want to touch anything that has to do with it. So that tells me that at some level, you're all either okay with it at a minimum or complicit in it.
Just probably both of those things.
Probably both. I'm just looking at your actions,
right,
to arrive at that conclusion.
Well, I think if you take voter ID on as its own thing and then keep forcing that to a vote, I think that if there are concerns about access to qualifying identification, which is what the Democrats say, I don't fucking think that that's a reality. I think it's just a scapegoat. I also don't want to see, I saw this suggested as well as a possible fix about expanding taxpayer funded free ID card programs. I'm sorry. It's $25 fucking at the DMV to go get a fucking real ID now, right? I don't think that you need more taxpayer money to go make IDs free, which is a suggestion they have. But you could address this issue through the existing systems we have and keep the voter ID requirement intact. And then you deal separately with citizenship verification. I think that if you build a system that verifies citizenship without creating additional bureaucracy for people who are legitimately voting, kind of like how gun laws really only impede people who are intentionally using a gun legally for the most part, right? That if you build a system that verifies citizenship by cross-checking already existing databases that, you know, DHS has, or even the Real ID database or the passport database, and if you cross-check those things, and I'm like actually describing the vetting process to get somebody on base essentially as well, because this is like an all-encompassing thing. But you vet them at the point of registration with automatic confirmation. It comes back really fast. It's straightforward. And there's an appeals process on top of that because this database belongs to a federal agency, right? So that you could just do this. Like, this is not that fucking hard. You could develop something that does this. And this would go into place with people who are registering to vote, right? Or renewing their registration. That's it. It's like this, that part already exists. You wouldn't have to build anything new on top of that. And then dealing with mail-in ballots as their own issue, Congress literally has the explicit authority under the elections clause to deal with this. If they think federal elections need a national standard for ballot tracking, receipt of those ballots or the chain of custody, then they should fucking do something about it. That's where it exists. in Congress. And Republicans should also be doing as much of this as they can at the state level. There are states that can do this. Because a huge amount of election administration still belong to the states. There's no reason every election security argument needs to wait for the federal government to tell you to do anything, right? Like, they know that too. This is an example of one of these other things where you are too smart to convince me that you're this fucking dumb. And sooner or later, Republicans are also going to have to deal with and decide what they actually want to do about the fucking Senate. And like, I am not cavalier about blowing up the filibuster, because whatever Republicans change today is going to be available to the Democrats the next time that they have fucking power, 53 senators, and they will. And everybody should remember that before they start changing rules, right? A lot of people are like, get rid of it. But you can't defend the 60 vote threshold and fail to find 60 votes, then refuse to change the rule, and then pretend that there's no alternative except an executive order. Those are political choices you're making to not do your fucking job.
No, 100%. Republicans in the Senate right now are the sibling. You know, when you used to take your brother's hand and smack your sister with it, and he's like, "Oh, it's not me. Sorry, it's so and so." Like, that's what's happening right now. And by the way, like, nobody in the country, Mr. Thune, is buying the fact that you can't do anything because you just don't have the votes. You know, he's walking around like Sandra Bullock right now. What was that movie she came out with, and she had to wear the blindfold the whole time? That's you trying to find the votes right now. Birdcage, was that what it was? It was something about it was some horror movie, but they had to wear blindfolds outside.
Bird Box.
Bird Box. There it is. Like, that's John Thune trying to find the votes right now.
Somebody needs to walk over there and open his eyes. Right?
and we all know it. We can all see it, right? So yeah. Again, you're either okay with it or you're complicit in it. Like, those are the options I'm left with.
The other part of this that bothers me, and this is something that you and I talk about a lot, is that people are starting to assume that this is normal because they want the president to do something.
Yeah.
And yesterday, and to your point, you were talking about, like, joking about the Trinde Arago guys earlier, but there's another example of this and how it's a bigger problem than, just this being, oh, well, it's moot now. And it, like I said, it's the Immigration Alien Enemies Act, right? So he invoked the Alien Enemies Act last year against these guys from Trinde Aragua. This law is from 1798. It gives the president authority over nationals of a hostile foreign power during a declared war, or when there has been an invasion, right? Which he was trying to say there is an invasion. I think that's exactly what it looks like. The administration argued that these guys, their operations, is essentially a relationship to the federal government. So therefore, that you can enact that law because they belong to the government of Venezuela. And the other half of it basically was saying that you're stretching the understanding of that, and that they're not a transnational state-sponsored criminal organization, whatever. That's the fucking legal dispute. But the Fifth Circuit, again, ruled against Trump last year and said that he does not have the established the facts as to establish that this was a kind of invasion or a predatory incursion, was the actual language they used, that the statute itself requires. And then they dismissed it yesterday because, like you said, those people weren't even in the fucking country to begin with. So after all this litigation, we still don't have a controlling answer to the actual question, though, that was asked in the first place. Just this one thing, right, is what they handled. Can a president use the Aliens Enemy Act this way? Well, the question isn't being answered. You look at this and you wonder why Congress seems perfectly content to leave these questions largely unanswered when they're the ones who can answer these fucking questions. So if Trinde Aragua or some other future foreign criminal element is a threat to immigration law in the country by proxy, or not, they don't have an answer and haven't set a fucking precedent, because they just threw it out because these people were gone, right? It's like, here's an opportunity to actually be effective. We're going to wash our hands of it because these guys are fucking gone. It's like, you can't even decide what kind of organization qualifies for everybody and move forward and set some sort of like foundation for people to use. Like, this is literally what legislation is for. I know this. They certainly know this. It's just where both of these issues about like mail-in ballots and then, you know, people coming into this country, like, of course, this like confluences this fucking week, and we're again left with no answers for anything. We're not solving the election integrity problems that are in this country, whether you want to say they're smaller than people are saying they actually are or not, which I don't think, right? But this just, again, none of this is 100% the fault of the president, and people getting used to wanting the president to be the person to solve these problems is completely forgetting about all these other people that you're supposed to be voting for and are going to go to Washington D.C. on your behalf to operate as the federal government, right? It drives me fucking nuts, man. 35 people, right, that we send to Washington D.C. to literally make answers for these and write laws, and they can't even do it.
Yeah, well, they're too busy making their TikTok, their Instagram reels, and they all want to be social media influencers is what they want to. They don't want to legislate or make laws. Yeah. Making laws is hard, dude, because then you got to take a stance on something, and you got to, you know, back that up. You got to lobby for it. People can like hold that against you on your voting record. Yeah, well, you got to have principles, is what I'm saying.
Right. Well, I mean, if you want to call it cowardice, I guess you can. I mean, there are good people, I think, that are in some of these seats. I think the majority of them are so uninterested in doing anything, because then it would mean that they would solve. Like, it's like this whole joke about like, well, if I do my job, then you don't need me anymore. It's like, that's just, I mean, that's not true, but they're not interested in solving problems is the point I'm trying to make, because they're the ones that are holding all the power. And I think they're more concerned about being partisan with one another than they are about, you know, representing. I'm just saying shit everybody already fucking agrees. But just like this week was the opportunity to set two different fucking precedents that actually matter and answer real fucking questions, right? Like, especially when under the election clause, and then here with this act, Congress has the constitutional authority, but they won't exercise it. Yep. I'm just sick and tired of seeing the same cycle repeat itself. And then, you know, people acting surprised every time we wind up back at the Supreme Court, hoping Amy Coney Barrett or somebody else doesn't do something fucking dumb, right? Like, if Republicans control the House and the Senate and the presidency, they still can't turn election security into a durable law, right? What exactly is the plan they're asking for people to vote for them? What's the plan? What's the messaging? All I see is a lot of inaction. And I was promised a lot of action.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. You mind if I segue off of that and bring this Milwaukee story into it?
Please.
Sticking on the election integrity bone. Jump over here so you guys can see where I'm pulling this from really quick. This is just a local affiliate here in my home state. But you can see human error forces delay in Milwaukee primary election results. So this is an absolute insane story. And I think that I've only heard one voice online get this right and what this, like, what's actually going on here. The bulk of the voices. So just a recap, if anybody doesn't follow Wisconsin politics, there was a DSA, actual DSA candidate named Francesca Hong, who's running for governor in the Democratic primary. And then there was the former Milwaukee County executive. So it's the county's version of the mayor. But you have Milwaukee, the city proper, and then Milwaukee County. He was the county executive. He was running in the Democratic primaries for mayor. Now, that guy, Crowley, dropped out of the race due to pressure, dropped out of the race. And then 3 weeks prior to voting day, re-entered the race. Fast forward to election night, Hong is up, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, you got 5 USB drives that show up, big ballot dump. He winds up winning by 3,000 votes in the very end. Next day, everybody's going crazy. Alarm bells are sounding. How in the world did she get beat? The story that I've heard that everybody's running with is, oh, well, see, the polls were wrong. That's why you shouldn't pay attention to the polls. That's it. Move on. I think most people on the right are satisfied with that because they're like, oh, the socialists got defeated. Good. Don't care. Move on. We didn't want to see her. Forget the fact that she was up by 20, anywhere between 20 and 30 points in all the polls that went into it. That's not the story, right? The story is these 5 USB drives show up in the middle of the night with the wrong voting data on them from the voting machines. They're claiming that it was human error when they came in because they downloaded the audit logs from the voting machines, not the actual voting logs. So they had to send them back, got the voting logs, came back in, he wins by 3,000 votes. And we're all supposed to take that at face value and say, oh, it was human error. The human error was fixed. You don't get to, in this environment where we have this many questions about election integrity, you don't get to tell me that there was human manipulation of the data, because that's what you're saying to me. There's human manipulation of this data in so much as we downloaded the wrong thing, so we had to go back and download the right thing. But totally for reals, trust me, the data that we delivered you the second time is the real data. Sorry, you don't get to do that. And I don't care if you're a libertarian or if you're in the constitutional party here in Wisconsin, if you're on the Republican side of this or you're on the Democratic side of this, every single person should be screaming to go back and show a forensic investigation of those voter files. And here's why. This is important. The only voice, by the way, I got to give credit where credit's due, that I've seen talk about this and give it a fair shake was Nick Freitas. Real friend of the show.
Shocker.
I would claim him as a friend. I don't think he remembers who we are, but I like the guy quite a bit. He's one of the good Green Berets, right?
Right.
He actually got this right. And I'm really thankful that he did, because none of the other voices did. And the reason that this is such a huge deal is because, guys, this is the same voting infrastructure that we're relying on in the midterms and the governor's race coming up here in just a few months in November. So if they're allowed to manipulate it, which they did, they just said, oh, we accidentally manipulated it, so we had to fix it. If they're allowed to do that and get away with it, and you're just supposed to look the other way, what's going to happen in November? This should not be allowed to stand. Like, this is an absolute, and by the way, I'm so sick and freaking tired of ballot dumps, of human error mistakes during the voting season. The freaking African republics can handle voting better than this.
If India can count their shit overnight, why the fuck can't California do it?
That's what I'm saying. This is retarded. It's embarrassing that any state could go through this and just be like, what are you gonna do?
Here's the thing. I want Democrats to feel like the elections they care about are fair. Why?
Of course.
Because I want the people that I care about and the elections that I focus on to be fair too.
Right. That's called having standards.
Exactly. I want Democrats to feel like the people they're voting for and where their vote is going and the tally at the end of it is accurate. Yes. I want people to have institutional trust and confidence. But the fact nobody, and the thing is nobody cares if the other side feels that way or not.
Right.
Nobody cares if, oh, well, yeah, there they are doing that. Like, I'm just going to dismiss it as that. Like, that's just, dude, it is, like you said, it's the entire fucking thing.
Yes.
It just,
and I want to know
everybody to feel this way.
I want to know that my candidate that I voted for is going up against the candidate that the other side voted for fair and square, because that's how you get a marketplace of ideas where two sets of ideas are being heard out completely.
Well, and that you're not disenfranchised, and that there's a couple of different people somewhere deciding who should be competitive with one another,
right,
and your vote doesn't matter. It's like that statement that Gavin Newsom made about the break glass in California, just in case there's two Republicans on the ballot. Like, what does that mean? Are you saying that the people in your state who voted for these people, it doesn't matter to you because the Democrat Party's needs are more important than your constituents? That's exactly what you're saying. What I heard when you said something like that as somebody who unfortunately lives in your godforsaken state. Like, this just, the hubris and the fact that people just look at that, like, so many Democrats are like, thank God he's got a break glass plan. Thank God the system is so fucking broken that he can get away with some shit like this. What the fuck is your problem?
Well, Katie
Porter,
what I mean?
Like,
Yeah, Katie Porter all but said it. Sorry to cut you off. When she was asked on the campaign trail, she was the other one running for governor out there. Well, what are you going to say to the Republican or the Trump voters that you need to vote for you? Why would I need them to vote for me? She just said it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, thank God she got fucking curb stomped, but still,
that was glorious.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I got on those two things. It's just, to me, is like, right now, domestically, aside from reindustrializing this country, okay, the two most important things to deal with are election integrity, and the people who don't fucking belong here and didn't come here the right way need to go. Like, how many more times do I need to point at history and show you that when you dilute a country and its culture, that it doesn't ever go well?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Walker just said that he knew Katie Porter in high school. Did you know
real?
A Katie Porter or that Katie Porter?
Yeah. let's be real.
And then Alicia dropped $1. Thank you.
He says I went to high school with that Katie Porter before she moved away.
Shit. Wow. Small world.
He says he's going to take a yearbook poster or picture and post it. Now, did you just go to high school with her, or did you know her? Right? Like, were you a friend? Were you just an acquaintance? Were you guys romantically involved?
Oh.
Did you turn her liberal, Colts Walker? Doggo Woods says, how, he says he knew her. How about Mayor Wang, Gavin? It's going to rock people's domes to realize she's just been a tiny piece of the visible iceberg. Not romantic. She was ugly then too. Okay. Nice. Just asking, man, somebody's trash is somebody else's treasure. You know what I mean?
Some people are late bloomers. Some people are never bloomers. It happens, dude.
Yeah.
And Alicia dropped $1. She said last November in California, they called Prop 50 passed within 30 minutes after polls closed.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the primary for LA mayor took 2 weeks and then pushed out the Republican for a woman that suddenly disappeared.
And for those of you who are not familiar with what Prop 50 was, it was the redistricting of the entirety of the state of California. Yeah, that was done in 30 minutes. I remember getting a push notification on my phone about that. Yep. Like, oh wow, okay. Somebody was sitting there waiting for that. It's like the Dewey defeats Truman newspapers, right? Anyway.
Well, are you tracking the time?
No, but let's push.
I was just gonna say, so we got about 20 minutes. How do you want to? Do you just want to roll into the Hearth?
We're just gonna go. We're just gonna go.
Okay. All right. What do you want to roll to next?
Should palate cleanse, and then you can do your bub.
Let's do it, dude. We only post drunk AF moments. Oh, that was a long way down.
George. Okay.
I'm all alone and I need you.
Yeah, key in there, yeah? Top.
Jeez.
Hello.
You got a piece of cutter.
Oh, God.
Stop. No.
Oh. Spilled that whole beer too, dude.
Go back there. Reach up.
Ooh.
Oh. Hey, careful.
That's my bad.
Let's do one more.
All right.
Oh man, that's okay.
Sorry about that.
Most devious Amazon return.
It's my first time returning something from Amazon to Staples. It's all good. We got this. Okay, QR code.
Okay. Got that. Just gonna bag this up for you, and you should be good to go.
Okay, wow, that's so easy.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for coming in.
Oh, sorry. I just got a couple more things.
Yeah, sure.
Had a little get together. You know how that goes. Okay, I just need to bag this all up. Everything got a little mixed up. Hey, you're the best.
Should get a receipt emailed to you.
I appreciate it, man.
Should be good to go.
Oh, whoopsies, forgot this. Oh, fuck. Holy shit. Holy shit. Yours wasn't fantastical enough for me, I guess. Yeah, just need to scan that code once more. Lightly used. Is that okay? We're gonna bag this up for you, sir. No, I walked through the valley of the shadow of death. I shall fear no evil. Amazing. You're the best.
Okay, sir, that should do it for your return.
Oh, shucks. There's one last thing.
Hey, man, why are you doing this?
Returning something at the return desk? Please, bro. I make $13 an hour, and I have 2 cats that I need to come home to. I was jubilated to learn that Staples accepts Amazon returns. But Noah at the return desk denied my returns
and then shamed me for my purchases.
And like you should burn. One last thing, and then you leave. It's you, sweet baby girl. No, you're going back. No. Okay, let's stop right there, folks. Give him a round of applause. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Hey, it's all good. We just got to remember the magic phrase here. No matter what, no matter who, we just stand back and let Amazon take care of it. Just let them take care of it. I'll get it next time. All good. Sorry, so what happens to all the used and unwanted returned Amazon items? Well, Jess, a lot of things get put on pallets, and what's not sold is melted down and turned into more clones of Jimmy Fallon. Oh my gosh, that's so that's how they make those. Pretty neat, huh? That's so awesome.
All right. Boss Man's taking a leak, so I'm gonna hang out with you guys for a little bit. But just to let you know, a little bit a little bit of a change. So heading forward in the stream, guys, because we know that this is 10 p.m. for you, and for you guys on the East Coast, this goes pretty late. We are going to be working on keeping these streams to 2 hours. So that's something that you can plan on moving forward, hitting that 2-hour out date. So that way you know what time we're going to be wrapping up, and when you leave at the end of the night, what you're not missing. But anyway, that being said, we're going to transition into the Hearth, and I'm going to set that up for a little bit while Brandon's on his way back. We want to talk about the Lindsay Clancy case, and this is something that's been going around the internet pretty crazy lately. And a lot of the takes on it have been absolutely wild. And I got to say, like, as a parent myself, wading through this case and wading through a lot of the internet traffic around it and the internet fallout around it has left me with like a really bad taste in my mouth tonight. It's one of those times where it's like, dude, I need to go take a shower after looking at a lot of these hot takes. But quick recap. For those of you who aren't familiar, there he is, that aren't familiar with the case, is a former labor and delivery nurse out in Massachusetts. She strangled her 3 children with exercise bands while her husband was away running errands. The prosecution that's bringing the case is stating that she intentionally sent him out on errands so she would have the house to herself, then committed this heinous act, and then slit her own wrists and threw herself out the second-story window, to which then she, I think, broke her back or something. Either way, she's now paralyzed from the waist down, and if convicted of first-degree murder, she faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. However, the defense is running on the insanity plea. And so if found criminally responsible, then she'll be remanded to a psychiatric treatment facility. So that's kind of the ins and outs. Did I miss anything, Brandon?
No.
From the recap. So that's kind of where we're at. Just to let you guys know before we go into it, like this one gets kind of dark, but there are some things about it that I think are worth talking about. So I'll just tee it up like that.
Were you pulling something up?
No.
Oh,
but I have the stuff to pull up whenever you're ready for me to.
Yeah, man. Now I wanted to talk about this because one of the obviously this whole segment, the point of this is to discuss things that are what I feel like and we feel like are affecting the West and our culture.
Right.
And I find it extremely reprehensible that there are people online. It's not just women. It is a lot of women. There's some men I've seen too, right? That are defending her. And the one thing I haven't seen is, there's all these people in there that are like, no, the actual victims are the children. It's like, yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, they lost their lives. They were murdered. But I've not seen one person be like, and the husband whose children these were is also a victim of this crime, right? None of that at all. I've not seen, I mean, if anybody else has looked into this, I haven't seen anybody use that distinction as a way to push back on this whole, oh, well, she just had postpartum psychosis, right? And I sent you something about all the medicine that she was on, because I did see a lot of people talking about the fact that she was on a lot of different medication from a lot of different doctors who were prescribing her the same thing. And that's a failure. I will say this.
Yes.
And the fact that these pharmacists or whoever they are, they don't talk to one another. From what I understand, there's not like a database that like CVS and Walgreens are both seeing to see that you were prescribed medicines from one person or another. That's a problem. I think, I don't know why that's a thing, quite frankly. I don't know. Somebody's a pharmacist, maybe you could explain to me if that's even the reality, but that essentially she was being given all of these things and was being given high doses of them for a long time from multiple different sources. And that there's the possibility, obviously, that she was addicted to some of these things. And then the other part of it too, is that her husband is being accused of not taking care of her. When you look at the court documents, he took her to plenty of doctor's appointments where these doctors walked away from admitting her to the hospital because they said she didn't meet the threshold for something like postpartum psychosis. Despite what she said, they went to multiple doctors who said she's not meeting the threshold for this. We're not going to recommend any of these other things. And they did prescribe her medicine. One of the medicines begins with an S. If you guys have a genuine interest, I can put it into the Discord what it was. It could be either a sleeping med or a med prescribed for somebody with postpartum psychosis. And somebody was pointing out in and that's why I said it to you, Chris, because you would, to me, like I trust you over somebody in a comment section. But essentially the people in the comment section who identified themselves as like nurses or whatever say that that's enough medicine, the level of medicine you would prescribe, the micrograms for somebody with psychosis, but that she was issued prescribed those for sleep, and that med is also used for sleep. And so there's things I think that it's just like, these are failures, but they're not failures that lead to you making a premeditated choice to tell your husband to leave the house and then kill your children, right? And my biggest issue is the number of people, and it is mostly women, getting online and defending this woman and saying essentially as if her children are no franchise to her or to anybody else or to their own individuality, right? It almost just like they're a proprietary feature of her, which she can take out whenever, or at least justifying the fact that she was sick, so she did, so it's completely fine. Never mind, there's a case from a few years ago where a veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder from his experience in the military shot and killed his children. There was video of that. He killed two of them, and then one of the ones ran out of the house, and he shot and killed him in the front yard. Do you remember this at all? They dragged their bodies out into the front yard. Anyway, he got a life sentence. And the defense attorney, his defense was that he had post-traumatic stress disorder and that was the factor in him doing what he did.
He should have gotten a death sentence.
I agree. There was nobody, not a single fucking person that I see be like, I'm not even mad at the guy. Like, oh, I just feel bad for him, right? Not a single fucking person. There's a double standard there, in my opinion, of this being a woman versus him doing this as a man, right? Yeah. And these are both mental health conditions that drove somebody to behave like a total psychopath, right? Like what he did, I agree with you, should die for it. Like it would have been, I mean, I know this is not like justice or the standard of what the justice system is, but it would have been fine for me for him to just get wasted right there in front of the house. Like that's it. You know, I don't need him to sit in jail for the rest of his life. I don't need whatever state that was in, the people that pay taxes in that state to pay for him to sit there and get cable television and 3 hots and a cot for the rest of his fucking life. I don't need anything like that. But I'm so sick and tired of seeing this. To me, it just spurgeons off of this other argument about abortion and taking away the agency of a child, things that happened like this week in Massachusetts with saying like beyond 24 weeks, it's at the doctor's discretion, you know, about aborting a fetus, when at that point, these fetuses are viable outside of the womb in a NICU, right? Like it just, to me, this is part of that same family of absolutely disgusting morals and beliefs that you will sit there. Like if you want to sit there and say that this woman, let's say she legitimately, because the psychosis diagnosis came after her murdering her kids.
Right.
She saw multiple doctors beforehand who did not diagnose her as such. Okay. But if you want to sit there and say that like, and right, postpartum, oh my God, postpartum depression is a very real thing. It affects a lot of people. It's a very real thing. It's terrible, right? And it does make women think very negative thoughts about themselves, about their children, all these things. Doesn't mean everybody acts on them, right?
Hannah had it really bad after our first baby. We've dealt with it.
If you want to say that that's unfortunate and that you feel bad that, you know, this person went through that way, just like there were people with this guy with PTSD are like, damn, man, fuck, like what failed this guy for him to, you know, get to this point, but nobody was making excuses for his behavior. It's just like this cult of online feminine nonsense and like feminism nonsense that has built this like Bundy-like following or like anybody else with serial killers to just completely exonerate her of her actions and then to treat her like the victim. And then forget the fact that there's another parent involved who lost his children and then not even recognize that he's like the thought process of that person is, even with the people defending or even with the people saying she's guilty, it doesn't even come to their mind to recognize him as a victim here as well, because she murdered his children. Right. Like under any other pretenses, that's exactly what he is and how he would be seen. I think that this culture around seeing children as something other than a child and as a parasite and something to be removed and something as a burden and something as ruining your life as opposed to adding to your life in a positive way we've now arrived at this. And I said this with the whole Massachusetts thing, that it's no longer, you know, oh, well, my body, my choice. It's essentially now, no matter where that child is located, inside you or outside of you, that you have the right to take them out. And like, that's the precipice we're at, is where somebody's going to start suggesting these things as if you know, they're, like I said, they are just a proprietary extension of you. And from that point, like you're only a hop, skip, and a jump away from being like, oh, well, a dad put it there so he could do the same thing. You know, at what point does the slippery slope stop with this? You know, I don't know. I see this as part and parcel of the same fucking argument.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. To answer your last question, the slippery slope never stops, right? Like that's what people need to understand. There is no bottom. There is no end to the depth of this depravity when you start going down here, right? The slippery slope argument, everybody likes to throw it out as like a scoffing thing, but it's absolutely true. And you can always see the slippery slope in hindsight when you look back. You go, well, where did we start? You started at safe, legal, and rare. And now we're up to, at any point up to including the time of birth for any reason that a doctor finds at the doctor's discretion. And by the way, you know, what are the incentives for the doctor to keep the baby alive in a state where abortions are funded by Planned Parenthood, which is paid for with tax dollars that, you know, that
we
come
already
out of
look
dark.
at
so
trans and kids as making money, right?
Right, exactly. You know, so no, there is no end to the depth of this depravity where it goes. And I think that you're on a very interesting string in that, you know, modern women largely, and I'm gonna be. This is going to be an overgeneralization, right? So just bear with me as I do this, guys. But it is true, and I'm taking. Why do you think that, Chris? Well, I think that because of all of the traffic that I see online through a lot of the places that Brandon and I have to wade through to bring these stories out, is that modern women want to be worshipped. There is a goddess complex there, and the tribal mentality of women to flock together when they see something like this and excuse the evil behavior of somebody simply because they also possess a uterus, right, is illogical at best, and it's sinister and evil at worst when you look at it. And I think a lot of these women, you can call it toxic empathy if you want. That would be appropriate to throw in here. But I think that for a lot of women, it's even more sinister than that, in that they also want to have that power and that control over another life. And so they're willing to excuse it here when they see it, right? Because they also want to be able to essentially get away with that. Right? Like, I think it's as simple as that, you know, whereas like you can look at, like you just did, the PTSD scenario and go, that's evil. And that dude should have been capped in his front yard. And yes, that is the justice system, according to Chris. I agree with that, right? We have laws here so that not one person can tyrannically impose justice on others. That, you know, got it. But if were it up to me and I was king for a day, that shit would get shut down immediately, right? Wouldn't deal with it. Right. And I feel the absolute same way about this case and about this woman. I don't care what psychological problems she was going to. I care about the outcomes of her actions, and she needs to be punished for those actions, you know? And this is also coming from my Christian worldview, because Jesus was pretty explicit about what he thought about people that harmed these little ones. You know, a lot of people like to apply that to sexual deviancy, but he just said anyone that harms one of these little ones, it would be better for them to tie a millstone around their neck and cast themselves into the sea than to stand before the Lord in judgment. All right. So anyway, that being said, I think that, back to the former branch of that argument that I was making, is removing her from society is also about public safety. Right. So it's not just that she should be punished for the things that she did, but removing her from society and putting her in jail is protecting society from her later actions. And this whole idea, by the way, of defense based on insanity needs to go away. Right. It needs to go away, because I don't care, again, that you were insane or that you didn't know what you were doing when you were doing it, or whatever the argument is behind that. I'm oversimplifying it for a reason, because it is a very simple argument. It's, you know, the idea that smart people take simple things and dumb people take simple things and try to make them sound complicated, while smart people can take complicated things and make them sound simple. Like, that's what we got going on here. This is a very simple thing. I don't care that you didn't know what you were doing when you did it. Your actions caused. We already have laws on the books when it comes to wrongful deaths that go, oh, this wasn't murder one because it wasn't premeditated. It is now manslaughter because your intention wasn't to cause death, but your action still did and resulted in that. We already have that figured out in the legal system. So throwing this whole like, well, it's not their fault because, you know, they were insane when they did it, doesn't hold water with me. All right. And that's, again, my own personal opinion on that. And I'm willing to stand by what I said right there. So we need to get away with that and do away with it entirely. And a lot of these cases, like this one specifically, this woman needs to be removed from society at a minimum and go to jail for the rest of her life. Like, she absolutely does, because she is a dangerous individual and has already proven that by her actions. It's pretty cut and dry.
Well, and literally the defense is not arguing she's not guilty.
Exactly.
It's just, and then the prosecution is making a case for this being premeditated, because she asked him to leave. And people with psychosis and the way that they're describing, like PPD psychosis, don't plot that way. They act based on whatever's going on in their mind.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the point that the defense is, the prosecution is trying to make is that even if she has psychosis, the premeditation factor sort of goes against what the typical behavior is of PBD psychosis. And so it's like this Charlie Kirk thing with Candace Owens, that there's all these internet sleuths inside these comments, like looking at these crime scene photos. One of the women I saw today, like, made a comment about how that knife looks planted by somebody who's left-handed and the husband is left-handed. How can you get that from a photo? Like, you have no idea what the rest of the crime scene looked like. You have no idea what the blood spatter analyst like thought or said or any of these other things. It's just like, that's it. So I don't know, man. Maybe it's the combo of online feminism and true crime podcast addiction that dude, true crime.
You just brought up a really good point. That the same women that are
overwhelmingly female,
right?
And it just, to me, it's just like, you think you can solve these cases because there's a couple of fucking sixes on a podcast sitting on a couch underneath blankets with mics talking about fucking whatever random ass case, and they all have the same opinion you do about abortion or women's rights and all these other things. It's just, that's what it is. It's just like this psycho ass online culture that has produced all of these people who think this is normal and okay, and an okay way to behave, and that a case like this happens is an opportunity for you to go Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. And you bring up such an awesome point that the same women that are defending this are probably the same women that are Candace listeners and supporters. That is the same group. I got to pull this up because you referenced it, but this is just such a perfect example of what you were talking about right there. But you sent this one over to me, right? Lindsay's internal body temp was 82. It would have taken 3 to 4 hours that day for it to reach that temp. How could you possibly say that or know that? At what external temperature? Like, what are you talking? Like, all right, it was unseasonably warm. It was 40 degrees that day. How can you plot the exact fall in core body temp to it? None of that makes any medical sense. There's too many variables for them to just make that claim. Lindsay's wounds weren't bleeding anymore. It would have taken about 45 minutes for the bleeding to slow to a trickle. What arteries were cut? What's her BP? What meds was she on? You can't definitively make any of those statements or back that claim up with anything. Too many variables. Patrick said he was answering him when she got there, yet the police and EMTs said he was out of consciousness and was not able to speak, only moan in pain. Oh, sorry. And then how did her Apple Watch record everything, but it was found in the drawer and not on her? As a nurse, Lindsay would not have cut her wrists the way she did with the intention to off herself. But my opinion, she also wouldn't have crushed the pills. How could you know that?
Funny that we want to assume postpartum psychosis and say that she just wasn't in her right mind, but then use her occupation as a nurse to say that a nurse wouldn't do this. Okay, so she in her right mind, or is she behaving as somebody who can think clearly as a nurse? What is it? Those are two different things.
Yep.
We had a $10 Rumble rant paid via Bitcoin, which I think is pretty cool. But it's from 520 Homegirl. She says, "Hey, can you tell me why you changed the name of the podcast? I will share my thoughts if you want. Your thoughts are very welcome." She says, "Welcome back, and what the fuck? That story makes me sick. This world is so evil." I agree. You can hear Chris and I's opinion. But why do we change the name of the podcast? I think there's a couple of reasons for that. We feel like calling ourselves Watchfire Podcast sticks more to what our actual goals are with this show, and they're pretty lofty goals, trying to correct the ship on Western culture thought processes, which is why we started this segment called the Hearth to talk about things we think are making Western culture sick. And then some of the other things that we'll start doing with the Outpost as well, talking about, we said those Knights of the Round Table episodes and some other ones. We'll talk about C.S. Lewis and Tolkien and all these other things, and some other classical Western literature and stuff like that eventually, because we're trying to re-anchor people who feel lost and untethered from Western culture, and to reawaken people to a history that people have been estranged from and told is wrong for pretty much their entire adult life. I'm mostly talking about like millennials and Gen Z, people we're trying to reach out to, and people that are voting and care about the things, or should care about the things that we care about, and have to try to fix a country alongside of us. So that's why we changed the name of the show. And then this is like totally anecdotal, but anytime anybody I noticed introduced us, I noticed that people almost seemed uncomfortable saying, this is the I Came With Fire podcast, guys. Either it was if it was a mouthful or the name of the show, I don't know what it was, but it didn't quite roll off the tongue when other people said it. And I just kind of noticed how others felt awkward saying it. And I was like, surely if that's how, from my observations, what's going on, then this just, like another small motivator that was kind of like the last, straw, I suppose, for me. But anyway, that's why.
Also,
I don't know if
huge shout out again to Rumble Rick for helping us get that changed here on Rumble.
Oh yeah, absolutely, he did. I think that's fucking awesome, bro. But I appreciate you, Colts Walker, for changing,
Elvish Cajun Master
for sharing that.
Just said
what?
Elvish Cajun Master just said, or Mustard said, just came fire. Would have been a cool
Come
name.
Fire, it says, actually. Yeah.
Oh, Come Fire. Yeah.
520 Homegirl says, sounds like an STI kind of. I mean, like, actually, not that I cared, but that was a joke, people would say all the time, man, you coming with fire, you should get that checked out. But anyway, let's see. She says, I love that. Necessary. Coles Walker says, I came with fire, Watchfire, rose by you, and her name would smell sweet. Appreciate it. But hopefully that answers your question. Whatever your fire come, Astrotech, I like it. But whatever your thoughts were on it, you're more than welcome to share. So, I mean, you guys are the reason why we're doing this anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, Astrotech says, doesn't the ground suck the warmth out of somebody? Yeah, it does. There's heat transfer. Absolutely.
All I was trying to get at, though, is that you said she was there for 3 to 4 hours, and now her core temp was 82 degrees. I mean, I could go on about why that doesn't make a lot of sense. First of all, at 82 degrees is where hypothermia is considered fatal. She didn't die, so there's that. Also, she had a spinal injury, right? So if they were taking her core temperature per rectal and she had a spinal injury, then I would expect the lower half of her body to be extremely colder than the upper half of her body. Probably something that the chick who wrote that post doesn't understand anything about spinal injury and how that affects the different sectors of your body above and below. But all I was trying to get at is there's way too many variables there for you to say that as if it's definitively some type of evidence that should be taken seriously. Again, it's like Candace going off about, Tyler Robinson wearing Converse shoes. And trying to say how absurd that was, that you can identify him because he was wearing Converse shoes, and just stating that like with such authority when what she was saying was completely absurd.
Right.
Like, so that's all I was trying to get at with that.
Yeah, man. Anyway, at least Victoria with the $1.
Thank you.
Somebody tried putting this case and Chris Watts in the same category. I've seen that too, since Chris Watts blamed the wife. Yeah. No, I've seen that too. Literally no evidence that this guy killed his children. The argument they were trying to make is that because she had psychosis and was on medication, that causes memory lapse, and that he actually did it and then convinced her that she did it. And that was the male voice she was hearing in her head, and she's just this memory that her husband was telling her. It just absolute leaps and bounds mental gymnastics for people to walk away from. And I think this, and I know it's controversial to a lot of women, but I don't think many women are very good at personal accountability. Sorry, guys. Not all women. I think a lot of women, and I think a lot of chronically online women are really bad about taking personal accountability.
Well, that was kind of the point that I'm getting at too, when you combine that with the toxic empathy and the tribal mentality of the female brain. And again, I am making a generalization. I'm comfortable with saying that you get this type of behavior where they will flock around and defend something that's indefensible. Why? just because she's a woman? Is it because you want to be able to get away with it too? What is the reasoning? What's the impetus behind? Why do you think that? That's legitimately what I'm asking you. And yes, if you make a claim, you have to back it up.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just vibes, dude. You know, I saw like a video I saw today. Somebody shared of Charlie Kirk, and he's on a show. He's clearly listening to somebody talk, because you can tell like the way his eyes are moving, and then like he's kind of like nodding along. But he does look sort of concerned, and I think he's just actively listening is why. But they put this music over the top of it, and it just says he knew they were going to kill him. That's all it says. And it's just this ominous music and him like nodding, like, you know, looking concerned. And this was 2 days before he was assassinated. And then of course the comments were just filled with like, you can see it. He knew they were coming for him. You could see it. It's like, what was he even listening to? You don't know what he's listening to. All you hear is this creepy music and his head moving up and down. And then you can tell he's actively listening to something, right? Like, nobody bothered. Not a single comment I saw was like, well, what is actually going on in this video? Because this isn't the video, right? Like, that's it. That's the threshold for truth. And that's the same thing I've seen with some of these people. And then there are a bunch of others that are trying to take like the public court documents and sift through them and then coming away with opinions, but they're not very good. And they sort of already went into this with this determination that she's innocent, or at the very least should be exonerated because she had psychosis.
Right.
And so who's to blame for that? The other half of the parenting relationship is completely to blame. Even though he's the one that drove her to all these fucking appointments, he's the one that documented was trying to get her to take medicine that she refused to take, left the house to go get things for her. Like, it's I don't know, man. Like anybody but the person. And then to not even recognize him as a victim to me is just kind of nuts. Anyway, Colts Walker, obviously $2. Colts always pays for his own advertising. He says, follow me on X, Colts Walker. My take on current events and tech. Also announce Watchfire shows. Follow me. Yes, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you also sharing Rick's responses on X. I'll go on there later when we get off and repost that and think.
One thing for Colts, because he was hitting me up on the Discord today. So throw you a bone on this one, buddy. Is that apparently Candace also referenced Rob O'Neill, former Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill, the guy who's famous for shooting bin Laden, if you guys don't know who he is. I think that's a very interesting, this is my wild take, and he's not going to be very happy because it's like, I don't really have a lot to say on this. It's summed up pretty quick. Is that Rob O'Neill, unfortunately, has trashed his own professional
reputation.
Thank you. God, I hate it when that happens. Has trashed his own professional reputation, as everything that's come out about the Abbottabad raid and everything seems to completely contradict all of the points that he made, and that large portions of his versions of events there were completely fabricated for, you know, his public persona and for his book deals and so on and so forth. So, you know, he doesn't have very high scores in the integrity category anyway. Now, that is not to say the man doesn't know his tactical stuff, but that is to say, when you're using him, again, as an appeal to authority, that's probably not the veteran or a member of the veteran community online that you would want to appeal to the authority of.
Yeah, I agree. That Andy Stuff podcast he did, Cleared Hot, I think really answered a lot of those questions. That was a really good podcast. But all right, guys, let's see. Colts Walker says, can you guys do some research on Rob O'Neill and do a full segment on a future episode? That would be interesting. I mean, we could. I'll like I just was saying, maybe before you typed that, the Cleared Hot episode that Andy Stumpf did with Rob O'Neill Andy pushes on him really, really hard and basically gets Rob to admit that they made up a story. And then he just kind of tries to defend that story without confirming some of those things. There's never even really a straight answer about some of this stuff, you know? But that's the best interview I've seen anybody do with him. And it's definitely the hardest pressed he's ever been. So Coles, if you've never seen that episode, I definitely would recommend it with, yes, I can share a link with that on the Discord, but it's Andy Stump's Cleared Hot podcast episode with Rob O'Neill.
Yeah, and then I was going to say too, dude named Brent Tucker, he's got his own thing going on now called the Tier 1 podcast. He was on one before that. I remember the name of it doesn't come to me, but
Stump was a SEAL too, wasn't he?
Stump was,
for sure, right?
Yeah, he was a DevGrid guy too. But all I'm saying is like that whole saga has been unpacked and debunked so thoroughly by people in the past that there's really nothing that Brandon and I would be able to bring to it that's not already out there, and it would be a wasted time for you guys, and then time taken away from us in the stuff that we normally do. And I'm not really interested. I don't know how you feel about this, Brandon, but I'm not really interested in wading into the pro vet drama space by any means. I'm largely, I don't care what people say and when they get caught in lies and the whole salacious, like, oh, he was lying about this. It's like, yeah, okay, he was being a dick.
Yeah, I think the extent of that for us is just kind of what we did tonight with Valhalla VFT and the credibility of his experiment. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could all watch that, you know, nobody can go watch that raid, and anything that you and I have to say is going to be third, fourth, fifth party through something. And quite frankly, if I even was going to begin to do something like that, like, I totally agree with you. Like, you're wading into like vet drama that we have no way of verifying at all, like whatever, you know, but I would probably just use Andy Stump's podcast with him as a source. And then at that point, you should just go watch Andy Stump's podcast with him.
That's what I was getting at with the giant waste of time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool idea. You know, I wish, and I wish that like we had more information or we're privy to certain things that could provide insight, you know. But I mean, when you think about it, you know, it's some of the it's lore attached to one of the most devastating things that's ever happened to this country, you know, and it created a hero, I guess, or an anti-hero, however you want to look at it, on something, you know. So
that was that other podcast, Anti-Hero podcast.
So anyway, that's not really our thing, you know. Like I said, I brought that up tonight, and even asked Chris. I even said when I said it to you that, you know, I will totally throw you the right to refuse to answer it, because it's like there's a question that like I would ask you, and then you and I would talk about, and that's just like a private conversation we'd have. But you know, there are ways to talk about it without diving into like ad hom and making a bunch of assumptions. Like, you could talk about a video that he made and the fact that he's being used as a reference. Like, those are totally two different things, in my opinion, about the level of the quote unquote vet bro drama that I'd be willing to walk into anyway. So it's not my thing.
I think I did a pretty good job of keeping all of the criticisms about the experiment that he performed and presented. And like that's what I was going after.
Yeah.
Nothing about him as a person.
Yeah. Cleared Hot podcast, Andy Stumpf. Yeah. Here, actually, you know what? Hold on. I will just drop a.
It's not that he needs us to advertise for his content.
No, but I mean, he. Let's see. Maybe I'll just go to YouTube. I just want to give Colts the podcast at all. I mean,
that
like,
specific
that's
one.
what we're looking at. Yeah. Hold on. Any stuff, Rob O'Neill. I'll just give him a YouTube link real fast, because there's like so many fucking clips of this thing on here. I don't want cleared. Come on, YouTube, you piece of shit.
He did that, and then he had a guy on recently to talk about the Operation Red Wings controversies. And
did he really?
If that's something that you guys are interested in, Red Wings was the operation that Lone Survivor, the film, was based on, right, with Marky Mark. It's been a pretty well-known thing. I wouldn't even call it an open secret, even pretty well known thing in the special operations community and in the military writ large for ever since. I think it happened in 2010. That incident did not go down the way that it was portrayed in the book and the way that it was portrayed in the film. But because, again, I'll just say, because individuals that were a part that participated in that operation received such high awards for valor, that tends to cause situations like that to then be seen as above reproach or above criticism. And that's where it remained for a long time. But then a lot of the truth and information about that's now coming out lately, and it's all out there. You can go look at it. I'm not defending or criticizing anybody from where I sit right now.
I'm trying to find it. He's got so many freaking things on here. He had Eric Holt on. He had our friend Eric Holt on his show too. You could go watch that one. But I will say, I think we did a better job. I'm trying to even find it. I'll have to look for it later, Coles Walker. I'll send you the link. But just like another one too would be like Tim Kennedy. Another person that just I don't understand. He's tried to like definitely make himself relevant again, and I'm glad to see the veteran community uniting behind not letting that fucking happen. Nope. And anybody in his comments that are sucking his fucking dick are just dudes that were afraid to just even join the regular military, in my opinion. Like that and a retired Air Force chief that I used to respect. So it's unused to, yeah.
Green Beret community has some policing. Say it that way. We, used to be the quiet professionals. That used to be a thing. And then I don't know what's happened in like the last 4 or 5 years, but all of a sudden there's been a spade of Green Berets specifically. I'm going to say making fools of themselves. A nice way to say it.
Here it is. Actually, I just found the link for you there, Colts Walker. 1 second. It's called The Raid, The Record, and The Lawsuit. And I'm pretty sure that lawsuit was with Because of Anti-Hero podcast, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that lawsuit is still ongoing.
Yeah, there you go, Colts Walker. Just put in the live chat, and I'll just pin it to the top for anybody who wants to go watch that one. I thought Andy Stump did a wonderful job, actually. Yeah, I think you're right. But I don't know if that could be something to talk about, is like what the lawsuit is actually doing, I guess, because if there really is a lawsuit that does go to court for defamation, then in discovery's
gonna be a bitch.
If it actually happens, you know what I'm saying? So then I think that it's like, okay, now we can just talk about what's come out in court. Right. But anything else before that is,
I think that's basically where Brent Tucker is the other side of that. I think he would be the defendant in this case. Yeah, the defendant, where he's like, let's go. Let's take it to court.
Yeah, let's go into the discovery piece.
Go into discovery. Let's see what happens. It'll be very, very interesting though, because with a lot of the information that has come out, I think most of it has all been unclassified, right? Because of them taking it online. But there are going to be things necessary to that lawsuit because of the situation they're talking about, the operation, and then some of the allegations, both directions, that are going to creep into classified territory. So it's like how much of that could be made public. I don't know. It's very interesting legal territory, but that could be, yeah, you're right. That could be something interesting to bring up. Just
at that point, it's literally public, and we're just giving our thoughts and opinions on public info instead, rather than speculating on what the fuck happened. You know what I'm saying? In Pakistan that night, where, anyway. But anyway, guys, I'll just, I don't know if you said anything about it when I was taking a leak earlier, but like, we are trying to keep these episodes to about 2 hours. And I think we let the whole Candace thing kind of get away from us. So I apologize for that. But next week, we are working on keeping them at about 2 hours, 2.5 max, and giving you guys exactly what it is, the best product that we can give you guys. And I think you guys realize by now that this is an animal we're always trying to work and find the best way to do so we can grow and do this full time. And that's what all this has always ever been about. And would love to be able to do this full time and talk to you guys and have shows and enjoy your company and bring you content and all this stuff full time. So it'll always be a work in progress for Chris and I, because we want to make sure that it's always the best thing that it can be. And there'll always be hiccups and things like that because we're human beings, but I appreciate the fact that you guys are always so patient and this show up as loyally as you guys do all the time. So I appreciate it. Cold Smoker says no knock next week. Yes. Chris and I will talk about prioritizing like time and all that stuff and make sure that we get it to a science so that we're not jipping you guys in anything for real, man. I know that's your favorite segment there, Cold Walker, but if it's any consolation, you could go watch Andy Stump's show right now and find something to do. Maybe you could do that. But tomorrow, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I've been putting some breakdowns on Instagram and on X, which have been some short form content, but they're essentially kind of little mini no knock breakdowns that I've been doing on different. The ones that I've done so far have all been events that have happened in the past. I think I got one coming out here about the Madison, Wisconsin shooting involving Corey Ruiz is the next one to drop. But in the future, our goal is to not cover. I had to get my feet wet with some of these. But is not to cover events that are in the past that you guys all know about, but rather to go out and find emerging events or maybe tactical situations or footage that we can find from like overseas or things that other people aren't talking about. Things you're not gonna get anywhere else, essentially, and do those mini breakdowns. But yep, we're always working, and I've also got some content coming out here. Starting next week, I'm actually going to work on filming my first kind of long form Green Beret educational video over the weekend. I'll give you guys a glimpse of it here first, but the first one's going to be things that every civilian's first aid kit should actually have in it. As you buy these first aid kits, they're put together. You got a lot of stuff in there that you don't need. And then it's missing some key components that it actually should have that save lives every day. So I'm going to go through. I'll show you how I have mine packed out here at the house, the one that I actually keep with me in the truck for my family. And that's just going to be a part of a video series that I'm going to be doing where I take knowledge and skills that I learned in the Green Berets that are absolutely applicable to you guys as civilians and bring the knowledge and skill set to you so you can be better prepared and better able to protect and to, oh my word, better able to provide, protect, and preside over those around you. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, tomorrow's podcast is with Alan Paul Roberts, and he wrote a book essentially about globalism and the cabal, I guess, as it were. Really interesting book. And got him on here to talk about it. A lot of these things we've talked about before in a sweeping way, but he goes more into detail with that stuff. So this should be a pretty interesting one tomorrow. And then we've got a couple in the tank as well, ready to come out too. So we'll see you guys in the live chat tomorrow morning. As always, it's a live chat, not a live show, so we can't ask the guest questions. But I hope that you guys enjoy it. And if you are on Instagram, please find us over there. Please find us on X. Please find us on Facebook, YouTube, anywhere else. Even if you don't really watch content on Spotify or on YouTube, even just a follow over there would mean it a lot to us. So we love you guys. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your guys' time tonight, sticking with us through any of the little hiccups and all that stuff. And I'll let Chris take us out like normal.
Hell yeah. I love you guys. Go with God. Don't be a dick.